To another episode of Marc and Elmer's
PSI.
Chemistry Investigation. Welcome back. Today we've probably got more material today than we've ever had.
Really?
Yeah, because you wanted to talk about some of the recordings.
You brought in some piles of stuff.
I brought it, and I brought in some more stuff. I've had another adventure today. Well, this past Sunday to another one of our book sales, local book sales, and it never gets tiring, folks. Never gets tiring. You get to meet all types of people. And this was no different from the previous ones. We still had our little bit of hassles here and there. Not as bad as usual, but nevertheless, people are really on the huff and huff about wanting to be the first in line, And I get special privilege since I am a member of the Friends of the Library, and so are the other people. But it's best to have personal insiders, who work at the library, which I do. But this past Sunday was not quite over the top. But so I arrived, and I believe I was the first one to arrive. Mm-hmm. Right? I was the first one to arrive. Well, lo and behold, within about 45 minutes to half an hour before the place was supposed to open, a couple, people were already starting to line up behind me. Okay, and then these couple guys, I think they're out of towners. They look like they're from out of town, but there were a couple of guys. They were built like Sasquatches. They were big, well over 6 feet tall, bearded, hairy. But they wanted to claim to be first in line, simply because their bags were waiting on the next side of the wall next to the door. Oh. They're carrying bags. Oh. So while they were inside their car sleeping for the last couple hours, they had their bags sitting there holding their spot on the line.
So did you give some karate chops and kept it?
So, yeah, I should have made it, I wish I could have made it a little more exciting. Just standing there like this, giving my best Bruce Lee look.
And you still let him go ahead of it?
Yeah, I did. That's the usual. When he does this, a fight's about ready to start.
Well, but you got to protect these things, right?
Yeah, I do. It's one or the other. But believe me, I was first online.
There you
go. And some of the people,
they weren't looking for the same stuff you were.
No, I wasn't. And
they weren't looking for what you were.
No, they weren't looking for what I was looking for to begin with. They were vendors. So eventually they were just going to look through all the material, and all I wanted to do was look for music and CDs.
Yeah.
And some movies. That was it. So, but anyways, that's what we have for you today.
Get Indiana Jones hat.
Indiana Jones hat?
Yeah. You should bring it in on the show and wear it when you do
when I do my
archaeological finds.
Okay. Yeah, maybe we'll think about it. Okay. But anyways, I wasn't sure. Do you want to start off or me start off, or what would you like to do?
Well, you probably got a lot of stuff to do. I was going to just mention a few things. I want to return to you.
Yeah.
You can show them this.
Okay.
This is the Emil Gilel CD. It's Russian release. I'm not sure what year they did it. 92. So this was just after the wall fell. But it's Soviet period recordings of Emil Gilels in the Moscow Conservatory. I don't know if it's all, but the Weinberg and the Stravinsky, I don't know if there was applause after the Scriabin, but those are live. Actually, it did say, I think they were all live recordings. And it's interesting because I have some Emil Gilels, but mostly what we could get over here in the West, like, for example, I have a Beethoven Concerti, wonderful one of the fourth concerto with, I think it's with Carl Böhm.
Yeah.
You know, we have certain kind of things like that. I mean, I suppose the Americans wanted to hear certain kind of stuff that they recorded.
Do you have this Carnegie Hall?
What's that?
Do you have this Carnegie Hall concert?
I don't.
You don't? Oh.
But I did look up some of his box set collections on Amazon, more than half of which are not available right now.
Wow.
So he's a little sold out, and maybe we need to get some interest in him. There's a 50 CD box, a red box released by the Ruskies. That's not out of print, but it's not available. But it's got a lot of stuff in it.
Wow.
And the Japanese were writing about it. You know, Japanese are big classical music fans.
Oh, yeah.
Special collectors. They even get special editions of things printed over there for Japanese taste, Japanese way, you know. But anyway, the composers he does on here is Moshe Weinberg, who was a discovery of Gilels. He was Polish originally. And a name like that, I assume he was Jewish. Moshe Weinberg. This is a sonata number 4 B minor written in 1955, 2 years after Prokofiev died. I didn't like it at all. I mean, the performance is really quite good.
Yeah.
But I didn't like the music because I thought it was completely Prokofiev. Utterly and totally Prokofiev. And the music that he wrote in 55, this is Prokofiev back in the 20s. You know?
Oh, wow.
Not even the late Prokofiev. So, and that said to me something, also it's very interesting. There's pretty substantial notes only in English in here. But, what should I say? I lived in Europe and I performed actually in Ukraine. I've never been in Russia. In Lithuania and Latvia, places like that. But there's a point here in the Weinberg where they say that this kind of music is very pleasing for pianists to play because it's based on folk music. And I thought that was somewhat illuminating because of the whole people's music thing that the communists wanted, you know? I mean, communist formalism is pretty conservative. Now, I'm not sure if I'm even using that word right. I think of it as formalistic.
Yeah.
But that might have been, they may have conceived of that word differently, I'm not sure. But it's interesting because these 57 recordings were made, said in the 50s, interestingly, that inside Russia, they pretty much didn't listen to any Western composers. It was not really popular.
Right.
Not disallowed, but really frowned upon.
Right.
So I find it interesting that the whole program is all these Russian composers. The Igor Stravinsky stuff is fascinating, though.
Yeah.
Because he does 5 movements, not the original 3. Right. And a lot of it's his own working of the score and such.
Yeah.
It's extraordinary piano, really amazing. And then he comes into the 4th Scriabin Sonata, which, I mean, some of this stuff he played pretty fast.
Oh, yeah.
But the 4th, he plays it with such eruptive passion and real variety of dynamics. I mean, it's really quite impressive all the way through. Plays the Prokofiev Third Sonata. I didn't like it so much because I felt it was a little bangy. It was a little, and you never know, sometimes it could be whoever was controlling the recording knobs. But it didn't have the nuances and subtleties that the Scriabin did. It had a lot of motoric verve and performance in it, but not the way I think of it. The piece, I actually find many parts of it quite lyric, and I know it's but you know, I think there's more there than just that motoric.
Yeah, and the nerve.
The Medtner is a very interesting piece. I did not ever hear this before. 10th Sonata in A minor. The two movements are the Allegretto Tranquillo and Andantino con moto. It's a quiet, not a... It's a very interesting piece to put at the end of all of this.
Yeah.
Because it's... well, it's interesting. It's a sonata reminiscenza, of reminiscence. But I started to look up Gilels after I listened to this, because I know him for his classical performances that we've had access to. And I've seen some things on YouTube occasionally. And I thought it was interesting, one of the stories that they included, that Arthur Rubinstein gets quoted a lot about young pianists.
Oh, yeah.
Because he lived so long and oversaw all of them, you know. And he, come on, Arthur Rubinstein was a god, right?
Oh, yeah. He was definitely that.
Maybe not the most...
definitely royalty, if not.
Yeah, maybe not the most technically perfect, but then like you talked about the last show, you said, take me 5 lifetimes to play like Godowsky. But
exactly.
What sacrifices would that entail?
Right.
Meant life things, you know, just savoring life, enjoy it. But he did say, well, apparently he was in Odessa in 1932. Of course, Rubinstein back then was still very European-based.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he'd made a tour of the U.S. when he was 18, which would have been, 1905 or something like that, I think.
So. Yeah.
And
it didn't go well.
He didn't have a really great time. Yeah. The American audiences weren't quite convinced of him, and he hated the Canale pianos. And he had some interesting experiences. He was supposed to play in San Francisco, but earthquake happened before he got out there, and it was canceled. But it was quite an uproarious experience, as he describes it.
Yeah.
But anyway, he went to happened to be in Odessa and heard some of the students and met a 15-year-old, I think. Yeah. Emil Gilels at the time, and encouraged him, and afterwards continued to encourage him. And then apparently he was quoted as saying later on in his career and in life, Gilels hadn't come to the States yet. He did famously in the later 50s or something like that. Yeah. He was the chair of the very first Tchaikovsky competition that Van Clemert won.
Really?
I think so, yeah. Was it 58?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Sure.
So he was the chair, actually, of the piano jury.
So he was judging with Richter.
With Richter, yeah.
And Shostakovich.
Yeah.
Kavalevsky was there as well.
Amazing.
Yeah. How would you like to be judged by those guys?
God, amazing.
Oh my gosh.
Well,
to be sitting there.
He's quoted in here saying Rubinstein said, if Gilels ever comes to America, I'm going to pack my bags and go back to Europe. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Free pianism. And interestingly, he said in here that all these performances are live, and he preferred the live recordings to the studio ones because he said that's when you can fly free.
Yeah.
And it's amazing because the Stravinsky is, I'm sorry, it's a fucking tour de force.
Oh, it sure is.
Amazing play.
Yeah.
And what I mean is, you hear some people that play, I remember Chinese or Asian pianists.
Yeah.
Years ago at the Van Clemert who played the original 3-movement one.
Yeah.
Quite good. And it's always stunning when anybody plays it.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Because the third
really
movement is originally the way it was written, almost impossible to play on the piano.
Yeah.
And yet people do it. He makes it even more amazing.
Yeah.
And he plays, like I said, a show or two ago, with the Russian soul, with great Russian soul. It's so inspired and present and immediate, and except in the last movement, but you got to take that into account because he's playing 1,000 notes and all the hands at the same time. A little boopers, but they're natural boopers in a ridiculously virtuosic moment.
Oh yeah.
But otherwise, it's like perfect.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say they're boopers. They're just like coincidental notes that get played with all the right ones.
Yeah. Particularly the last part where he's going out like this.
But that's not the place. It's just when you've got these huge, massive chords and these. I could be wrong. Maybe those are non-chord tones that are written in. I don't know, or that he intended them. But it's not a big deal. I mean, not a strike at all. But thank you very much.
Oh,
You want to
sure.
show it to them?
Yeah, I'll show
Get
them.
your hands on it.
Yeah.
This is a Russian-produced thing.
Yeah.
It'd be
It's
interesting.
hard to
Maybe
find.
we could do some research and find out where one gets that kind of stuff. Because you found this in a record store.
I found this at what used to be Borders.
Oh,
Borders, Books
I
and
remember
Music.
Borders.
Yeah. They're no longer around, but I was.
They were quite big for a while.
Yeah, I was very excited to have found this. Mostly because, well, partially because it's Galel's, and most of the recordings we have here of Galel's, at the time, we didn't have very many recordings at all. All I had was, believe it or not, I actually have a recording of his Carnegie Hall concert, and it was a gigantic concert. And it was during a time when, people were quite satisfied with hearing all three movements, the Moonlight Sonata.
Mm.
It was, and he played that.
Yeah.
So it was wonderful.
It's interesting. It says in there too. He was one of the Soviet artists who freely traveled during his career for over almost 20-year period. He kind of did Europe. He did America many times. But he was a patriot, tried and true Rusky, but he had great musical colleague friends in the West. People really, and apparently he was a really wonderful man. That the effusive enthusiasm and power, and there's not, I wouldn't say swagger like some kind of macho way. No, just happy joy and but masculine power. People said he was like that, He wasn't like a out of control, hard drinking Rusky kind of friend. I've known those too. But just a really enthusiastic, the French have a good word, bon vivant. One who lives the good life, who enjoys living, just being alive. And there's some wonderful recordings made of concerto. There are some things available. But I would say at least half the things that I put on my wish list are not presently available. And the prices for some of the stuff is up there for the boxed sets.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. I will keep looking and digging through my archives. I know I have a copy of his recording at the Carnegie Hall concert because, and it was during a time when, the later part of his career, his playing had more warmth to it. I feel like it did compared to this. Compared to this, and you see some of the video footage from the great pianists where he's playing, the Prelude G minor by Rachmaninoff for the Military Men. That's great virtuosity. Those octaves that come down, as he comes down. I could only attribute to perhaps the young teenage hormones and working on the reflexes, working on overdrive, the nerve impulses that bring those octaves out that way. And plus,
I think maybe he did some promotional videos during the war, and then in the 50s, which was a high cultural period for the Soviets. I mean, Stalin died in 1953.
Yeah.
Then Khrushchev took over after that. Yeah. And things changed a bit, but there was this... Russia was full of itself. I mean, this has been big times. I mean, this Khrushchev's presidency led to the Cuban Missile Crisis. They were planning at least, to put nuclear missiles in Cuba that could strike, at that time, the eastern United States, including Washington and such. And he wrote some stuff as a member of the big Soviet music group and all that kind of thing. I thought when the Weinberg was described as, well, if it sits really well in pianists' hands and it's nice to play because it's based on folk music. And I thought, okay, but
I'd like to hear what that folk music
at the same time, when they're saying that these recordings were made in the 50s, back when the Soviet Union was mostly interested in Russian music and things like that, because they felt that, presumably Beethoven and all those people, music of the bourgeois.
Oh, I have heard that so many times.
That's a big thing. So, good for them. They're doing their stuff. It's a great time for Russian films after the war. I had a Russian wife for a while. She was Ukrainian, but she's Russian.
Yeah.
Extract because her mom and dad were both Russians from Russia. They settled in Odessa. But I can't think of the guy's name, but I will think of it and I'll put it up. Because we were able to borrow films at Casa Video in Tucson and watch these. Is it Mikhail Kempff? But anyway, I'll look it up and find out. Wow, some brilliant movies, wonderful films. And of course, the super famous ones of Sergei Eisenstein was one of the great early filmmakers. Battleship Potemkin, some different things. But these were very interesting films that were made commenting a little bit farther in the Russian history past in the 20th century, which would have made it a little easier because it was easier to make fun of Stalin in the 70s than it would have been back then when he was alive. No way. But it's interesting because it's like big. I mean, it's wonderful acting, wonderful cinematography. You could just tell it's all, and the stories are really, Russian and intense. And the history, of course, is Russia. So, but that was cool. But that was a real nice thing here. What did you say? His plate turned warm. I want to say something about that. As he got older, that's when he really started. Apparently, it was later in his life, and I think possibly because this whole post-50s pro-Russian everything kind of died off a little bit because that's when he really apparently dove into Beethoven.
Yes, I was good to say.
And one of the sets that's available are of 29 Beethovens.
Yeah.
Not 32.
Not quite.
Because he died before he could finish the whole site.
Yeah.
But those would be interesting to listen to, except, oh my God, I've got so many Beethovens.
Oh, gosh. Oh, well, one of these days, I know in my archive somewhere, I have this Deutsche Grammophon recording of the Greek lyric pieces.
Oh, you mentioned
that. And they are delightful.
Yeah. It actually mentions that he enjoyed not only playing these, like, I've got 40 fingers here, pieces, but he also really liked the miniatures and the sweet lyric pieces, and he played them with the same seriousness and joy that he did the big stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting because of all those Soviet pianists, I'm sorry, I was just never a huge Richter fan. I mean, I know the boy had technical days and all that, and made some amazing performances, but I never got it here for me, what I did here. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I mean, amazing pianism.
Yeah.
But musical...
Joie de vivre.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And who were the big three? There's Godowsky, Richter, and...
There's
another one.
Well, Ashkenazi and
Berman. Newer. I mean, the older ones.
Oh, the older ones? Goldenweiser, the Neuhauses.
Those are some interesting players.
Feinberg.
Yeah.
There was also...
Now, I would say the more I listen to the...
Safraninski.
All those people. Yeah. Because they still have that older Russian school thing going on. And I may get in trouble with some people, but it's kind of over now anyway. But those people were raised, many of them, at least in piano traditions, or they're even old enough to have existed before the Russian Revolution, before the whole Soviet thing took over. I think of Richter and Gilels and Ashkenazi as very Soviet-built pianists, I mean, just as tough as a tank. Really, really strong, hard sometimes. But if you listen to the playing of Safraninski or Feinberg himself, that old lady,
what's her name?
Tatiana,
or You know who I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
I sent it to you from
Yeah.
one of Norman LeBrec's things.
Yeah.
Tatiana somebody. Didn't we ended up doing that CD or something?
Yeah, I think you did. I
something?
did. Because she recorded all
Some
the
stuff.
Shostakovich.
Preludes and Fugues.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Preludes and Fugues.
Wonderful play.
Nikolaeva.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Those older school Russian pianists, and I mean, and then you're talking about going all the way back to Horowitz and
Yeah.
even farther back than that. That's a different kind of pianism. There was color and imagination and sexiness. The way they played the lines, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, Horowitz was often referred to as kind of a panther, the way that he played on the keyboard, you know, like a cat, the way they played around. And I don't mean this, and I don't mean this as a big stereotype.
Yeah.
I had a Russian colleague when I was a professor in Cyprus, and if I were to describe his animal way of behaving, it's very cat-like. You know, cats, you know, maybe they like him, maybe they don't.
They're very
They
independent.
behave like they don't care.
Yeah.
No, but he was a smiling, relatively friendly guy. Paid me a nice compliment. We were not on the same side of the fence many times as teachers and thinking about the program.
What?
But at the very end, after the last concert I gave as a farewell concert for us, going to leave that summer, he came back into the green room and shook my hand and held on to it. And while he was speaking to me, and he said, you know, I think I have heard every concert you've given since you've been here. And I really have appreciated everything you've given us and all the wonderful music and everything. I was probably more touched, well, not more, but deeply touched by that because we just started to watch the Harry Potter series all over again.
Oh.
This is like Harry and Malfoy.
That
was me and Alex.
Really? Oh, gosh. That was a rather volatile relationship there.
What's the school?
Hogwarts?
Yeah, but what's the club he's in? Harry. Buttendorf or something.
Oh, Gryffindor?
Gryffindor versus
Slytherin, yeah.
So, but that was a nice compliment that he paid. But yeah, it's unfortunate because I think that there was also a period of time with our American pianists. There was just like a really big, thunderous kind of thing going on.
Yeah.
You know, and I've been reading some stuff recently. Like, I read something relatively recently regarding Friedman and Rachmaninoff's words about Friedman. Ignaz Friedman, the great Polish Chopinist and pianist. You've heard me talk about him many times. Rachmaninoff said he was one of his most favorite pianists from the old world. Because even Rachmaninoff felt that his own playing had a certain modernity to it.
Yeah.
And he said what it was, the agogics and the very clever dance-like bravado and stuff, but the agogic feeling and playing was what he associated with the great pianists of the coming out of the 19th century, saying that that was a style that was giving way. Because if you listen, I mean, Friedman was acknowledged as the great Chopinist. Chopin and Chopin.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And then eventually Rubinstein became that one. And there couldn't be two different versions of how to play that composer in general.
Oh, yeah.
Friedman sounds primarily improvisatory and fun and sprightly and full of surprises and wonderful things and this kind of just kind of these moments just swirling in the air. But there's just good energy in it and all that. His mazurkas are wonderful. Rubinstein's, I love it. I mean, I grew up on this stuff, and I still love to listen to Rubinstein play almost anything. But I would say we've used the word noble, powerful. I mean, in some of the ways that he played, Rubinstein was always trying to say with like the great heroic Polonaise. He said, all these 19th century ideas of Chopin as this kind of wimpy, weak pianist. Tubercular. Well, some of that is true at the very end of his life, apparently.
Yeah.
I mean, he was never a big guy. He was very thin.
Yeah.
But Ruben says kind of right. He said, you know, come on. I mean, this piece was not written by a weak-souled, weak-kneed.
Exactly.
You know.
Yes.
And he didn't play it that way either. Ruben's really
actually,
like, I mean, some of those recordings from Israel when he's a really old dude. And
Yeah.
he plays it as an encore at the end of the
Yeah.
My God. I
You
mean,
can
it's
barely
a
see.
bangy and it's some bad notes here or there.
Yeah, but
But his sound is huge. It's like
Yeah.
a full orchestra.
yeah,
It's, you know, amazing.
yeah, the soul is still there.
Anyway, that got me going because I just started to think about these references, these different things. But I remember my teacher, Miss Fontel, a Hungarian teacher that I studied with for a while in New Jersey. She had an influence on me because some of what she began to teach me is stuff that I especially then got later on again from Ellsworth with more depth and detail because I spent 4 years with her. I had a long summer with her in New Jersey. Olga Fontel, she was from a relatively well-to-do Hungarian family, German and Hungarian. And then she is quite a good pianist to the extent that she went over to Hungary before the war, meaning the Second World War, and studied piano with, no, actually it was just the opposite, I think. She studied piano with Bartók
Yeah.
and composition with
Dochnányi.
Dochnányi.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and talked about both men. You brought in some music of Dochnányi. It's
Yeah.
really impressive stuff.
Yeah.
Really amazing. Really well written.
Yeah.
The guy's totally in charge of his craft. She used to tell stories about Bartók, though, especially. So he's a smaller kind of man.
Yeah.
But she said he had this quiet. It's just a very gentle and rather self-effacing person. But she said he was always very gentle, and dressed as a gentleman, you know.
Yeah.
Usually a three-piece suit with the vest and the tie. And what she liked about the Hungarian culture at that time, the one that she associated with, was the gentility and, you know, the properness of it, even a courtliness of the way that the people behaved with each other, she said. But she said no matter what was going on in the room, nobody would even, there would be no announcements or anything, but he would come in through the door and enter the room, and she said there was a shift in the energy. You could feel it in the room. People would realize they turned on, oh, there's Bartók. And she said that she clearly really admired the man terribly. But, you know, he eventually died of leukemia.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad. He got weak and pale and all that. But she said near the latter part of his life, she said he almost like had an aura, a light that around him that people sometimes talked about. And if you guys aren't really up on all stuff, Béla Bartók was part of this whole early 20th century international movement looking at music of the people.
Yes.
It wasn't just a communist thing. I mean, Americans were doing that with black music.
Yeah.
Especially in the teens and the 20s. There were compilations and people were going down with record making things and capturing people playing music and singing and all that kind of stuff. And mostly those were white people, white ethnomusicologists going down and trying to capture the black stuff. And then that music began to find its way into some of the white music. Copeland,
Gershwin.
But then Burley was actually black. And I'm thinking David Guillaume, for example, did some pieces. Unfortunately, there was also quite a bit of racism connected. Not with all of it, there was some of it, depending on the people. But Bartók took his record player and his notepaper and went out into the countryside and was recording the folk songs. Songs and instrumental music with all the complex meters and things of wasn't just Hungarian per se, but all the various kinds of Slavic peoples that live in that part of southeastern Europe before you get into Russia per se. And that stuff all eventually figured into his music. He really incorporated a lot of that stuff. But it was interesting because when they said, the Weinberg because of the big folk music, and everybody loves folk music, don't they?
Yeah.
There was, and I think it was probably due to. I'll shut up after this.
That's right.
I think it had to do with, and I don't think anybody would find this problematic, kind of earlier 20th century cultural movement towards socialism.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of countries, the Socialist Party began to assert itself even going back to the late 19th century, but it really started to have a certain period of time. And there are different aspects of socialism. The Nazis called themselves socialists, but then they persecuted socialists because they were the Nazi Party was a special kind. They also persecuted communists. Socialism is not communism. Socialism, the people are still very much involved in their governance, and participation and so forth. But it's what we would think of as here as, for example, in the United States, we had socialism. Pretty much, that's what Franklin Roosevelt was doing.
Yeah.
I mean, it saved the country of the Works Progress Administration and various kind of things that he put into place. That was big government spending to keep people employed, to give them some money. He started up the Social Security system and all that. That all started during that period. There were great movements around the world. Turkey freed itself in the 1920s. Kemal Ataturk was a general and opposed the Ottoman government, and they were what were called the Young Turks. In 1923, they established the Republic of Turkey, and it was strongly based on a Western socialist idea of governance, and they set all that up. It was all over the place. Communism per se is what took over in Russia, but of course they call themselves socialists.
Yeah.
But it's a different kind. Just as the Nazis were socialists, but it's a more extreme kind.
The guys.
Yeah. But and what socialism was doing, I think, and what it did do, and I think it would, come on, you guys have heard me say before, I'm a humanist. I'm a deist, but a humanist progressive. I think that if we have government, it needs to exist for the benefit of the people, because then otherwise, it's why have government. Just if it's going to have its nose in our place, then it should be trying to do the best it can for people. And so in some cases, some people out west just think, well, you sound kind of libertarian sometimes. Well, I am, because I do think that in some cases where the government doesn't need to stick its nose in, it shouldn't, and let business people run their game if they're kind enough to their employees and thoughtful and everything, and they're really investing in things the right way. Get the hell out of their lives and let them make business and do it.
Yeah.
But then I often come up with the idea that the society is like a big cruise ship. You got first class, second class, third, and then God knows how big the ship is, how far down it goes. I was thinking like on the Titanic, there was first, second, third class, right? Huge difference between first and third class. Huge difference. What happens when the people down there in third class, fourth class, fifth class, toilets stop working, the fruit that they're getting is kind of moldy, they're hungry, they don't have enough to drink or stay happy or comfortable, they're going to try to come upstairs. The second class, right? Check things out, maybe take a few provisions.
Sounds like a dystopian movie I watched.
Well, I mean, I think that's kind of natural human tendencies. I mean, there's so many examples of that constantly. That's what revolution is about. Revolution is always generally about the underbelly of people coming up to snag things from people at the top because they're damn tired of it. And the people at the top have way more than they probably should. We're like billionaires now in the world.
Yep.
They're making billions a month. They couldn't hope to begin to spend that much of it. It seems perverse, I think. And I think, and then a lot of them are interesting. They say, tax us, set it up and do it. A number of them say that. Get a little off here, but I think that the socialist movement was just looking more at human beings. It was, in the 18th century, we had the realization of humanism coming into governance in the American Revolution, French Revolution. A lot of the great writers, Jean-Jacques Rousseau and John Locke, and people like that were huge influences on the minds of those people that wanted to open up society. French did it way more violently than we did. But then I think in the early 20th century, so we had to get through the 19th century and industrialism and the inevitable capitalism that would come out of that, which just widened the gulf more. There was more a look, especially at the end of the First World War. It was devastating for people. You know, over, what was it, a 10 square mile area in France? That's where something like close to 50,000 soldiers died. I mean, what really was amazing is I just saw a story about Gettysburg.
Yeah.
That many of them died in 3 days at Gettysburg. 52,000, I think upwards of 65 to 70, possibly. Anyway, I know I'm jabbering here about all this, but I think that the study of ordinary people's music, you know? So instead of the waltz being like the big curiosity, the Ländler, for example.
The Ländler?
From Schubert's time.
Yeah.
Because the Ländler was the peasant dance, and the waltz was the fancy people's dance. Yeah. And there was a great looking at the music of the people. Chopin had already done that with the mazurkas, for example, in the 19th century. There's dances of the people, more than the courts. But
oh, you want to talk like peasant dance? Check out Grieg's Schlatter dances.
Oh, those are wonderful.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, the Norwegian things.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I'll shut up finally now. Maybe even edit some of this out. But I wanted to show you two of my chords.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay.
But, we talked an awful lot about that. But that's my exegesis on socialism and Sovietism and Emil Gilels, a really remarkable pianist. Now I have something I want to show you.
Okay.
I bought some things recently.
Oh.
I got this at a really good price.
All right.
All 5 Beethoven concertos. Alfred Brendel. And I already own 3 or 4 sets or more already. This is a conductor I'm learning to really appreciate because of my Berlin Digital Concert Hall subscription. Simon Rattle just stepped down from being at the Berlin Philharmonic after several years. He came back to London, but now he's the director of the Bavarian Radio
Symphony.
Which has had, as I didn't realize, Raphael Kubelik directed them. It's some amazing people. It's the other orchestra in Munich.
Yeah.
There's Munich Phil, and there's the radio orchestra. And I've been seeing the reviews of them playing in Carnegie Hall recently. People are saying they're just simply one of the gems in the world. That this is like an amazing special orchestra that has special quality. Well, the amazing thing about this is Brendel and Rattle, and they talk about how they first got together and played and had such a special relationship with each other. Then the Vienna Philharmonic said, why don't you guys come over here and let's do these? And the Vienna Philharmonic is a really interesting orchestra because they're self-governed. They have no music director. They have sometimes, for a period of time, asked someone to become kind of their director for a period of time. But everything is controlled and always has been since the very beginning by the musicians. This is, as I understand, had been true of the Berlin Philharmonic, was originally true of the New York Symphony Orchestra, which became the Philharmonic. But both Berlin and New York actually call directors that they themselves choose, not a board.
Yeah.
The musicians decide, and most of the time musicians decide. But yeah, in this case, Vienna is always its own thing. And I've learned to really just admire them. My God, everybody playing all these different parts.
Wow.
It's brilliant, virtuosic musicianship in all these different places throughout the orchestra. I haven't had a chance to listen to it yet, but I just got it a day or two ago. in the mail. But I'm looking forward to this, and I'll let you know something about it.
Okay.
Then I found an interesting historic recording.
Historical.
Came through Momox, which is a big online British company, which is selling a lot of stuff. This is a 1961 live Bayreuth recording of Valkyrie
Oh,
with a number of famous singers, Regina Crespin, Astrid Varnay, and Regina Resnick. And then the three big guys are Fritz Uhl, who's the tenor, plays Sigmund, and Jerome Hines is Wotan, and Gottlob Frick is Hunding. It's with Rudolf Kempff, who I have long admired. He was famously, for some period of time, the director of the Dresden Symphony and State Opera. He was based in Dresden, and I think because he was in East Germany-ish, not as able to be so popular in the West.
Yeah.
His stuff got out.
Yeah, that's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
But there's some great recordings of Strauss operas and things. Yeah. And that orchestra, again, there's another special orchestra, Dresden. But this is a mito, which I think is Italian, because some of the words is registrazione dal vivo, which means a live recording, 1961 by
Wow.
But you showed that. Astrid Varnay was a kind of a Birgit Nilsson, or later on in Kirsten Flagstad, kind of soprano. And both Resnick and Crespin had huge, wonderful voices. So I'm kind of looking forward to hearing this. This is historically a very important recording, they said, because Wieland had died, and his brother Wolfgang took. Well, I don't know if he's dead yet, but he was having health problems. And Wolfgang, the younger brother, started to do more work. And the problem they said that he found himself in was Wieland had a crop of extraordinary singers. So some of the great recordings from the 50s with the great Wagner singers, there was a noticeable change in the singers going into the 60s. And eventually some people came about, that were really famous and huge and had some good things, but we hear some of the singing in the 1950s. And, there's an interesting recording I have. It's a 2-disc one, 100 Years at Bayreuth. And it goes back to the very beginning, the very, very possible first recordings of any people. Because, Wagner had to train people to sing the roles that he created. Ludwig Schnorz, for example, was an early one. He's in this record. It's interesting to hear the original singers. Emmy Destine, a friend of Barbara Rubinstein, she sang. She was one of the Rhine Maidens. I don't know if she sang Brunhilde. I kind of doubt that. But, well, it depends on which one. But she's on there, and there's some other wonderful people, especially when Wagner died, and then Cosima ran the festival into the 1920s. And there's all these people that sang there. It's very interesting to compare those singers to, the ones we have nowadays.
I was going to say.
They're in different periods. Because Wagner is in every way a special world.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
The playing, the singing, the marriage of emotions, the words, and everything. It's a big deal. So, anyway, those are my 2 recordings. And the other thing was, we talked about this.
Yes, we did.
When George
Gershwin.
This was his orchestration book.
Yes.
Well, I found a beautiful copy of it for $4 on eBay. And I started to look through it. That's it. This is a wonderful orchestration book. It's got beautiful illustrations of how to use. He approaches each instrument and how to write for it, and it gives lots of examples in traditional repertoire of how you bring out the unique colors, timbres of the instruments. It's very readable. Actually, I'm going to read the book. I'm going to read an orchestration book because when I was just kind of flipping through it and reading, I thought, this is really accessible.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's
and
very
yet
accessible.
Very authoritative. let's put it this way, it's better than some of the textbooks that I had when I was in college, which
Well, I tell you what,
talk
I
about
have
long hair. Gee.
I have a copy of that book at my place, but it is a very, very old book.
Did
It's
you use
still
it?
in hardback.
Oh wow!
It is still in hardback
Have
and
you
the
used
color. No, I haven't used it because I'm afraid to open it
Oh.
because the pages are so delicate. Some of it's already. I kept it because it seems
Original.
like it's one. Yeah, it's a hardback.
It's
it's
a Dover
blue.
reprint.
It's a blue hardcover, and you could tell it's had its. It had its use. I opened it. There's like pencil writings and pen markings in it. So somebody took it seriously.
Right.
Really
I never
seriously.
knew about it until we
We talked
heard
to the
about
Steph-
Georgie.
Yeah,
That's the book that he used to study orchestration.
yeah, that is the one.
So
So it's interesting.
I would say that comes well recommended. Then.
Oh yeah, it
In
does.
fact,
That
that's
one.
the one that Georgie. Well, let's put it this way: he probably didn't discover it himself.
Yeah.
Somebody who knew stuff
Oh yeah.
said, "This is the book you should use.
Oh
If
yeah.
you're going to do it."
Well, actually, there's also an orchestration book by Piston.
Walter Piston, yes.
And his comes with CD recordings and examples and stuff.
The
So
20th century, now focus specifically on 20th century techniques.
Yeah.
What we use in our class at Wittenberg, and I wouldn't talk bad about this because it was focused only on 20th century.
Yeah.
Not romantic writing. Vincent Persichetti.
Oh yeah.
That's the one that
That's
we
the
use with Bob Howard's classes.
Yeah.
That
There's also Rimsky-Korsakov's text, his treatise on orchestration.
very famous, very
I
famous.
know,
And
but-
Weinberg, that Russian,
Yeah.
he called himself a Russian,
Yeah.
he was a Polish born. He studied with Rimsky-Korsakov and
There's Tanev.
or either this
Tanev.
the schools of, in the sense of
Yeah.
Korsakov and somebody else, I forget who it was. Very Russian kind of stuff.
All right.
And then, he wrote very persuasive Prokofievian music 2 years after the guy died that was reminiscent of music 30 years
Yeah.
before, at least.
Now, have you ever seen the one with Rimsky-Korsakov's instruction on orchestration? 95% of he only uses his own music as excerpts and
Why not?
samples. I always thought that was quite
He was a
funny.
really prolific composer.
Yeah, he was a
Especially,
very, yeah.
dominated opera in Russia.
Oh yeah, but
He was the mid-19th century opera composer for the
Yeah.
Ruskies.
Have you seen his piano concerto?
No.
I haven't either. But I have a recording. I have like 2 recordings of it. One was done by Richter.
Really?
Yeah, the other one was done by Michael Ponti.
Not surprised. I was going to wonder part of that Hyperion British kind of thing.
Yeah, it is. So, but yeah, he even wrote, let's see, and I even recall he did a trombone concerto as well.
I was reading about Michael Ponti recently.
You
That's
did?
the German-American pianist that we
Okay.
talked about in the past. He recorded tons of recordings,
Oh yeah.
like 90 or something.
Yeah.
Very prolifically busy guy.
Yeah.
Not so much here in America. He had a big European career.
Oh yeah.
I didn't know that. I had read it before, but I was reminded. I'm not sure if he was the first, but he may well have been. All of Scriabin, all of Rachmaninoff,
Yeah.
and all of somebody else. I
Oh,
forget
yeah.
It was another, but finger busting kind
Oh
of,
yeah.
lots of notes kind of stuff. As we talked about this, I love Rachmaninoff and I love Scriabin.
Yeah.
Scriabin is technically more accessible to me. Maybe he didn't have a monster hand, because I've never found anything really that I can't play.
Yeah.
But Rachmaninoff, some of the stuff is just, I can't, it's too much.
Yeah.
My hands are always in extreme position,
Yeah.
which is going to mean too much tension in the wrist and the forearms. And, yeah. Listen to somebody else play it.
Okay.
So
folks.
thank you. That's my huge blathering.
All right. Now, the
excursion.
haul from the this past Sunday's book sale. Not a real big haul, but I think you'll find a lot of the material interesting. So the first on the list is this Decca recording of Jean-Yves Thibaudet,
Ooh, I like
and he gave this CD a title, Carte Blanche.
He's older.
Yeah, he's older than this one. Now, for some of you younger kids,
French Canadian guy.
yes, French pianist.
Quite a few good ones that came out of there.
Yeah,
That Marc Elmers is another one.
yes, another one.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, Jean-Yves Thibaudet.
Can I ask? Or are you going to say that he won the Rubenstein or something?
No, he didn't.
He
No,
didn't?
he wasn't there. But there's a listing here of some of the competitions he won.
Oh, okay.
I could have sworn he won the Robert Cassatsu in Cleveland, but it wasn't listed. So I was like, that's confusing.
Is that the Cleveland Institute Music Competition?
No, it is not.
It's different.
That's different. There is an international Robert Cassatsu competition.
They have it in
It's in
Cleveland?
Cleveland as well, but I don't know. It's still, it's still working.
Most of you guys internationally probably have heard of Cleveland, at least because of George Sell.
Oh yeah.
Those of us who live in Ohio have a different memory of the city of Cleveland. You know, I finally went up there and saw the Wagner statue that's in that picture. It's in this park overlooking Lake Erie. And then you can look down at this waterfront of Cleveland. Guys, our Great Lakes are really something else. I mean, I've seen some big lakes in different places in the world. I mean, the Lake Erie is not nearly one of the biggest ones.
Yeah.
But when you're standing up there looking out and there's nothing on the other horizon but water, it's like you're on the ocean.
Oh yeah.
It is huge.
Yes, I've been there.
Lots of water. In the 1970s, parts of it was on fire.
I remember that.
Because of
Remember that.
pollution in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Cleveland is historically really industrious city.
Yeah.
Very blue collar, big stuff. I mean, competing with Pittsburgh and some other places. Amazingly, they've cleaned it up. I mean, now the water's a lot cleaner as fish and everything.
Oh, yeah.
People even swim, which would have been impossible
back then.
But there's great museums. There's old money, and probably because of the wealth from the business.
Yeah.
There were thoughtful, wealthy people who put their money into the culture.
Yeah.
Cleveland Orchestra in Europe is regarded by some people as the best American orchestra.
Oh, it was, yeah. Cleveland.
Above Boston.
Above Philadelphia.
Well, in Philadelphia. New York has always been, it's Europeans' minds.
Yeah.
But I was surprised to see that some people were disappointed that Cleveland was going to be able to make summer tours because they were saying that many people regard Cleveland as the premier orchestra.
Yeah.
And we've got some good ones, folks. And we always kind of looked at the big ones, New York.
New York.
And New York did some great stuff with great people, but Boston famously is one of our oldest ones and kind of a very, has its reputation.
Yeah.
But there was also Chicago.
Yeah.
Big time, going way back to Frederick Stock.
Oh, yeah.
Then Fritz
Reiner. Yeah.
And then Fritz Reiner moved around. He also directed Cincinnati for a while. And then he was in Pittsburgh for a while. And then he went to the Met, and then he went to Chicago. Those are Richard Strauss students. George Sell and Fritz Reiner.
Yeah.
And then Bernstein studied with Fritz Reiner.
So, only third in line.
Anyway, I interrupted you, but
right.
Yeah, Cleveland's.
What?
There's a fabulous bakery up there.
Oh, yeah.
God! When I was going up for this German thing up there, I looked them up, and there's a Hungarian bakery.
Yeah.
Sorry, I will look up its name. I got a thing for pastry and stuff. So
yeah.
we talked about Aldino's here in Columbus. It's
Yeah.
Italian. I'll look the name up, buddy. It would be worth a road trip.
Road trip? Okay.
Oh.
Should think.
God, the stuff I brought home.
Let me know.
I brought home like $130 worth of pastry.
Really?
Oh, man,
Really?
I'm not going to find this again. This was months ago. Yeah, long time ago. But it was.
Was it after that?
It was all freezable or refrigerable.
Was it after that?
It was during that time.
During that time.
When I went up there for a thing at the Cleveland Minicore.
Wow.
So, anyway.
All right.
I'm in a chatty mood today, people.
Johnny.
Watch out.
Johnny Thibaudet. Hey, let you have a quick look at this before I give the information on who this guy is. For you younger whippersnappers.
He's a very polished pianist.
Oh, he's a very polished pianist.
Yeah,
more words about this guy a little bit later here after I give you your his
Plains,
bio here.
in what we consider a 20th century French kind of.
Born 1961.
Oh, he's only a year older than me.
Yeah, he's our generation. He studied at the Paris Conservatory
There you go.
with Lucette Descaves and Aldo Cicciolini.
Oh, Cicciolini. Aldo Cicciolini is the famous Satie pianist.
Yeah, that's the one.
Probably the most commercially famous recordings of Satie's music.
So, anyways, in New York, he wins the 1981 Young Concert Artist Auditions. In 1992, performed the complete Ravel works in New York. Could you imagine? This was all the information I found on the guy. I could swear he must have. I almost swear that he won the first place in the International Robert Casa Sud competition. I'm not sure, but
this is a guy. I'm sorry, but I've said this before.
Yeah.
He's a year older than me. We were both making music in the world at the same time.
Yeah.
Doing our careers.
Yeah.
His, of course, a lot more illustrious than mine. But I just never really got a chance to know the guy because I was giving concerts.
Yeah.
You know, and teaching and doing all that kind of stuff. And if I had a choice, I've always tended to go with the old guys.
Yeah.
Like, even I keep going farther back, old guys, because I want to hear that kind of stuff. And ignoring my colleagues, which maybe is not a nice thing to do, but that's the way it was.
Well, I'll tell you what.
He's got some very interesting repertoire.
Oh yeah, so very interesting. This is almost. I almost compare this to sort of a. I don't know. It kind of reminds me of the piano albums or piano encore albums of
Almost.
help me out, Stephen Hoff.
Yeah, every one of these pieces is like a potential encore piece.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And he's got here movie music. He's got 5 movements from the movie Pride and Prejudice.
His own arrangement?
No, this is arranged. It was arranged by Dario Marianelli, the actual composer of the music. So
I notice he has his own arrangement of Adagio for string.
Yes, he does.
Farmer.
Yes.
And there's Gould's. What's that thing called?
Gould's Boogie Woogie
The
A2.
Boogie Woogie A2.
Yes.
Do you know that?
Yes, I have the score.
You did?
Yeah. Tchaikovsky has the recording
I've seen it
too.
before. Yeah.
So it's interesting, but it's
Tchaikovsky. That's right. That's how I know it.
Yeah,
He plays it.
Yeah,
sure.
Tchaikovsky.
That's right.
Yeah, it's a neat work. It's very toccata like.
Yeah.
But most boogie woogie pianists will look
Boogie's
at
hard.
it and go, huh?
Mhm.
You know, but the figurations on the left hand are not what most boogie woogie pianists do.
Boogie Woogie is tough stuff.
Yeah.
And Liberace was famous for playing it super, super fast. He used to do that example. I forget what he called it. Boogie Woogie but it was a super fast.
Oh
tempo.
yeah.
It's yes,
Yeah.
and it just went really
Yeah.
fast, and then played the melody with it. But another thing too, which I can't play again, this cuts your hands.
Yeah.
Stride piano is something I really admire.
Stride piano.
Boom chick. It's a boom chick stuff.
Yeah.
Or sweeping things through on the left hand.
Yeah.
Who was
Arteta made it famous.
Arteta, but then there was
Fats Waller.
Fats Waller, because he had really big hands.
Oh yeah, Fats Waller.
Despite the name and everything, he had big, long fingers, big compass, and
a big ego.
I was he enjoyed life.
Yeah, he did definitely.
But if you want to have a good time, more than Artatum is really good stuff, and it's it's not necessarily, you don't put Artatum on and just listen for fun.
Yeah,
you put Artatum and listen.
Oh yeah.
Fats Waller, you could put it on the background like our show when you're like vacuuming and doing stuff like that, and listen to him play. But I admire stride pianists just because I can't. I've tried to do certain kinds of things.
Yeah.
But these guys, part of it is because the stretch, the leaps, and the tempo.
Yeah.
It's pretty damn fast.
Yeah.
And it requires that kind of shooting in the dark kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
The comparable danger is the end of the second movement of the Schumann Fantasy.
Oh,
Cha-chunk, 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 cha-chunk,
Yeah,
cha-chunk, cha-chunk,
yeah.
cha-chunk, cha-chunk. Yeah, that's a Schumann-esque boogie woogie.
yeah.
Or stride.
Stride. um, so, anyways, he's got here Scarlatti. He even plays some Couperin, some Chopin Liszt. Elgar, that's interesting. The Elgar and Gabriel Pierney, and some Granados here.
Yeah.
Villalobos,
I played the
Polichinello.
Granados, the Maya or Ruiseñor,
Good.
the Maiden and the Nightingale. Rubinstein recorded that. That's actually where I knew the piece as a solo piece.
He even has one of Tchaikovsky's composition.
His composition?
Yeah, Tchaikovsky's composition.
Oh.
The Prelude Pathétique.
Huh.
He also has an arrangement by Alexis Weissenberg. That's the song "April in Paris" by Trenet and Eiger.
Mm-hmm.
So, but okay. So I've listened to this album
Already.
I have. I've
Good for
listened
you.
to it from beginning to
And
end,
it's lovely.
and it's beautiful. It's charming, absolutely charming. My only criticism is in the Adagio for strings, you miss his ability
I
to
wondered about
sustain. And even at that one big height, the moment at the end, the climax, where the
Yeah.
strings are, the violins
They're
are in
sawing
their upper
away.
registers, and they're
Really
and they're still sustaining and crescendoing that last long note.
Yeah.
You will not find it here.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but
That's
nevertheless,
that's one of those kind of pieces. In this case, it's just maybe particularly that piece, but it's got to be a string.
now
piece.
on the lighter side, what I can say, it is a heartfelt adagio.
Oh, why not?
It is a heartfelt adagio. It's almost how would you say? It's more of a ethereal adagio,
Mhm.
something that the kind of you would expect from, say, like the Abschied piece by Liszt.
Well, you can get passion and loud on a string that would move you in a potentially sad way.
Yeah,
Where creating that same effect on the piano inevitably has more towards a heroic kind of thing,
Yeah.
or violent,
yeah,
angry kind of thing, and it's hard to sustain. Come on, this is why in all the lovely slow movements of piano concerto,
Mhm.
strings and winds oftentimes are the ones carrying the melody,
yeah,
not the piano.
right.
You know, if you look, the second and third piano concerto you wrote on, you got your moments.
Oh yeah,
But if it's played well, like the way Yunchun does, you know, it's a relay race back and forth between whoever's got the melody. That's who should be featured. And a lot of times, when you think about Raghunath, where does he put the melodies?
yeah,
Strings, and then sometimes beautiful oboe,
yeah.
and some clarinet occasionally.
But anyways, my first experience with listening to Thibaut Day came back in the, I'm going to guess, early 90s, late 80s, when he came out with his debut album, The Liszt Transcriptions.
Oh,
Now, you have a very young Thibaut Day in that one, and it's an absolutely amazing debut. He does the Rigoletto, Verdi Liszt, Rigoletto, Sextet, and you have those runs that go up like this. Oh, the most clear, pearly run I've ever heard come out as far as that piece. Every recorded piece does not come out like what way he did.
did these
I mean, it's
guys
just-
at all
It's
study
amazing.
from the same teacher or summer school or something?
I have absolutely no
They're
clue.
both
I
Canadians,
gave you the
right?
teachers. I mean, Cicciolini and this Lucette.
Ciccolini.
Yeah, Ciccolini. Messing that up. But Lucette, all right,
In
Descave?
France, that's it.
Descave. I mean, it was Paris Conservatory.
It could be Descave or Decave.
Decave.
Lucette Decave.
Okay.
The S could be silent. I don't know. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't.
Okay, but anyways,
Because, I mean, I've heard that about him, that his people remark about the really clean
yeah,
playing, which is in and of itself is an admirable thing.
yeah,
and then Marc Andre Hamelin, that in spades.
Yeah. But this, that.
And it's something that I think, even though it's not the 19th century pure French school anymore, as we were discovering some of those recordings, I still think of that as something kind of famously French.
Yeah.
It's very clean.
Oh, it's very clean.
Who's the guy? Philippe Entremont.
Philippe Entremont?
No, he was probably the most famous French pianist back in the 60s and 70s.
Absolutely.
Recording
very easily
a lot of classical music, but oftentimes Saint-Saëns Concerti did all of them. Right?
I only know of number 2 and 5.
Yeah, 2 and 5. I know, but, or Debussy.
Rachmaninoff, he did number 1 and 4.
Really?
Yeah, he did number 1.
A little odd, and I think he played with Philadelphia. So
he did.
But I think he was probably a little bit more European based.
Yeah.
But that's something I remember about his playing. But then Ciccolini, even though he's Italian, was considered probably the best exponent of Satti's music, and plays it with an imagination, but a real cleanness.
Yeah.
The articulative stuff is always very clean. And I think about that of general pianists who are associated with French.
Entremont eventually became a conductor.
Yeah.
He took over after Abraham Abravanel for the Utah Symphony.
Oh.
So he was there for a time.
Interesting.
Yeah, I thought it was too. But
you know what some people said about that?
What?
I don't know. He got so big it was harder to get around on the keyboard.
Really?
Yeah.
Entremont?
Yeah.
I did not know he got big.
But rather. Yeah, I think he ate a lot of brie.
Oh,
cheese.
I did not know that. I know nothing about it.
A lot of camembert and brie there.
I know nothing about that. So, anyways, that's Jean-Yves Thibaudet. Now, the next thing here I wanted to pull out. Should I or shouldn't I?
Oh.
Okay. All right, let's pull this out. I found another Prokofiev CD of Frederick Schuh, different from the last one. Last time I brought in sonatas. This one has transcriptions of Romeo and Juliet, which is Opus 75, 3 pieces from Cinderella, Opus 95, 10 pieces from Cinderella, Opus 97, and 3 pieces from War and Peace, Opus 96.
I bought a while back the collected sonatas.
Yeah.
Frederick Schuh, because they were so highly recommended.
Yeah.
I listened to some of it. It's really quite.
He's very good. He studied in Indiana with the lady that's over there. I can't remember her name. Indiana University. I don't remember her name, but she's quite well known in Indiana University. Does music department.
I wonder what drew him to Prokofiev.
I'm sorry?
What drew him to Prokofiev?
Well, that is a good question.
Is he Chinese, or did he work abroad?
Well, that's a good question. At this point, he is a French citizen. He lives in Paris, but when he competed in the Van Cliburn competition, he was American.
Oh.
But according to his bio, during that time, he was living in Paris.
Interesting.
So, but he is an interesting pianist.
People still end up in France.
Now,
one of our favorites is
Volodos. No, not Volodos, but
I was thinking of the Scarlatti Baccarat. It's gorgeous.
I know who you're talking about.
Brilliant fellow. I'll go think of it.
Okay, yeah. Anyways, very little has been written about Frederick Schuh. Very little. The only thing I could say about Frederick Schuh is what I know of him in more contemporary times. He competed in the Van Cliburn competition.
Scott Ross,
that's the one.
Sorry.
Scott Ross. That's okay. Anyways, he competed in the Van Cliburn competition and didn't get past the semifinals. He was a very daring competitor in the Van Cliburn competition because the entire repertoire was transcriptions.
That's right.
The entire repertoire was transcriptions. He did. I think he even did the Blue Danube. I'm not sure.
Schultz-Elber.
Yeah, the Schultz-Elber. But he also premiered his 2 transcriptions of his own from Prokofiev's Suite Lieutenant Kijé. So that was quite interesting because he does the Romance second movement, but he also does the the troika. You know, and that in itself has a piano part where it's just 16th notes going decka decka decka. It's supposed to be jingling.
Van Cliburn would have easily been able to play a lot of that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah,
but he never did. That I know, not much. Yeah, but I mean, he did some of the list transcriptions. But I mean, a lot of this kind of stuff, like when you said he did all transcripts, like Schultz Evelyn.
Yeah.
It would have been interesting to hear Van Cliburn play that because he would have done it so well.
Oh, he would have.
He was totally that old Russian school kind of way of playing, which we talked about earlier. Sofroninsky and all these people.
Yeah.
He got that probably from his mom, maybe some kind of influence there.
Perhaps, yeah.
But he really captured that, which is, I think, one of the reasons why it blew the Russians out of the water.
Yeah.
Because when you think about a little bit later, Ashkenazi and Ogden shared a prize.
Yeah.
But before that, that was 62, right?
Who? Van Cliburn?
No.
The Tchaikovsky?
No, Ogden and Ashkenazi.
Yeah, that would have been 62.
So this is back 58 with Van Cliburn.
Van Cliburn, 58.
This is apples and oranges in terms of piano playing. I mean, brilliant, all of them.
Yeah.
But Van Cliburn is so old school in comparison.
Yeah.
I mean, his recording of the original version of the Rachmaninoff Second
Sonata. Yeah.
It's amazing.
It is amazing.
You got to sit down and listen because you're talking about 45 plus minutes anyway.
Yeah.
But it's beautiful and so episodic and like, what's the movie? Famous movie. Has Laura Steen in the movie.
Dr. Zhivago?
Yeah, this is like, it's like,
or Gone with the Wind?
no, or that, but it's more like the whole Dr. Zhivago kind of grandiosity, you know, the whole grand picture. The performance of Van Cliburn does this, for me, it has that.
Oh, yeah,
it's just, and it's beautiful in the way. I mean, I want to hear it, I think, God, this must have been what people said Levine sounded like. I mean, we have so little. And their earlier recordings, and they're, you know, pretty good, but then you got 40 years later with a better sonic fullness of things.
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
We're talking about Frederick.
It doesn't surprise me that he would have been eliminated because Van Cliburn was both trying to, the competition was set up to demonstrate the fullness of what it means to be a modern pianist.
Yeah.
And Van Cliburn's own issues with the management and all the places that wanted to hire him, keep him squeezed into a really narrow path of repertoire. Tons of concertos. He was the best paid pianist in the 60s and the early 70s. Every time he appeared, it was $12,000 or something. Yeah. I'll play one, which was a lot of money back then.
Oh, yeah.
He got paid more than, per concert, he made more than Arthur Rubinstein did.
Yeah.
But he wanted to play chamber music and wanted to do all this other stuff. That was something that was originally part of his competition.
Yeah.
And then it does, I mean, what you hear, in my experience, I don't watch it as much anymore, but when I was younger, I used to see things.
Yeah.
People wanted to know what you could do with the Waldstein, for example.
Mm-hmm.
You know, or the Third Sonata of Chopin.
Oh, yeah.
And that's not the little inky-dinky pieces of Liszt, but you want to play Liszt, then let's hear one of the big Hungarian Rhapsodies, maybe. But more so concert etudes or Dante Sonata or Liszt.
Liszt Sonata, yeah.
They want to really meat and potatoes kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And the thing I love about now is like what Yun Chan was doing at the concert in England. And I can't ever always remember his name. The guy who studied with Brendel, who's a polymath.
Kid Armstrong.
Kid Armstrong. Lives in France. Has his own church.
Yeah.
These guys are expanding back into at least a century before Bach.
Oh, yeah.
JS. I mean, way back there. And they're looking at the French clavicinists.
Yeah.
And even the
the
British virginal guys, they call them, because that was the name of the little keyboard they had. And playing it with such lovely imagination.
Oh, absolutely.
What I liked about what I've heard, both Kit and what I heard Yun Chan play.
Yeah.
You know, we've talked about before, I think we have a short memory. This is the part where we got to pull out the underwater parts of the iceberg to remind people, like when Claudia Rawl recorded the Goldberg.
Yeah,
Put it aside for Wanda to have her
Yeah.
have her time in America. And it was discovered in the 90s,
Yeah.
There was a lot of playing of early music in the early 20th century.
Yeah.
If you look at programs and stuff, there were people. Claudia Rawl played a lot of Bach
He did.
and a lot of Liszt when he was
yeah.
younger. And there were other people doing that as well. And then out of that came these kind of early music movements. The one I can't think of, the German guy, but then of course there was Godowsky.
There was Horowitz going back to Scarlatti.
And then Horowitz going back to Clementi.
Clementi even too, yeah. Forgot about that.
But it's nice to see, for me,
Yeah.
I love seeing these guys approach this other music because, come on, it used to come out when we were in school and stuff, a proper program is something by JS, then something classical.
Yeah. Something contemporary
and
or
then
romantic.
the whole thing. Then you got to present some serious meat and potatoes in the second half, romantic stuff.
Yeah.
And then if you're going to give something to the 20th century, play something.
Yeah.
and
Usually it was a
that's partially
cantata.
a student thing or something that you had to do. But when you look at the programs that were done in New York back at a certain time, I remember seeing an article. What composers represented most, and Chopin was like way up there. And it was like 360 pieces of Chopin or something that somebody had done, And then you kind of come down and there's Beethoven and Brahms, various composers represented. But I'm really excited to see the kind of music making that's being done nowadays because there's such variety and openness to hearing other things. I've even seen some people sing in some cases like, really, another Beethoven Sonata cycle?
Yeah.
Really, another? Now I got excited about this Brendel
one, yeah.
And actually that's what the people who wrote the notes said, is that some people were saying, Brendel's recording another Beethoven set.
Yeah.
We got, 4 or 5 of those already.
Yeah.
But I'm looking forward to this because as I understand, it's very special, very
Yeah.
neat. But there is some repertoire. Would you agree? It's kind of
It's getting
done to death.
Yeah.
It's like I've often said now that there's certain things I would like to do. I don't mean this offensively.
Yeah.
But it is probably offensive to some people for me to say it. When all those Chinese people play Beethoven. The people want to bang their heads against some of that.
But you know what, though?
I've been playing some Beethoven recently, and I like some of the less familiar things. I do want to play the Appassionata,
All right.
the F minor.
Well, you want to try something unique by
26,
Beethoven?
Opus 26.
You want to try
And I
something
love the
unique?
Opus 31. It's all three
Unique
of them.
Beethoven? Try the Polonaise.
Oh, I know the Polonaise.
You played
There's
it?
some great pieces. I have this Beethoven Klavierwerke
Oh.
from the blue cover.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking
Henley,
about. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah.
That's where I got the Rondo Capriccio.
Okay. There's also the fantasy in G minor.
Some interesting pieces.
That's an interesting one. Okay, anyway,
So
let me finish up with
I
Frederick
keep
Schuh here.
rolling there. I'm sorry.
Let me finish up with Frederick Schuh here. He
Good
competed in the
Prokofiev
Van Cliburn
sonatas.
competition. Van Cliburn, and this was the year they actually lifted all restrictions on repertoire.
So that's why I did it.
Yeah, that's why he did all the transcriptions. In his defense, they lifted all requirements. Anything goes.
God love him. He didn't last very long, but the boy's got a significant career.
Oh yeah, he does. I mean, the recordings of his Chopin etudes, lots. I mean, he still has.
And living the life. Come on, he's living in Paris.
Yeah, he's living in Paris, but
Come on.
he's interesting. If you check out his channel on YouTube, he has sort of this Zen approach to piano and even living life. Pianists have come from afar to come study with this guy, and he says, "Okay, you want to study piano? Then you'll have to live here."
He studied, teach privately or at the conservatory?
He teaches. Well, from what I saw on the YouTube, he teaches privately at his home.
Oh, cool.
And it's interesting. He had on one of the channels, he has maybe 4 or 5 pianists living with him, and they all do exactly what he tells them to do.
Oh, he's got a dojo going.
Yeah, basically a dojo. And he says they go out every morning to go work on the garden vegetables.
Yeah, they go out and spend time in nature and all that.
And they go out fishing to catch their food. If the fish is too big, they have to put it back.
This guy's like the Thich Nhat Hanh. He was a Vietnamese Buddhist priest of piano teachers. Piano teachers.
And his methods are really interesting. They won't touch a piano for like a couple weeks. He says, here's the piece you were assigned. And they won't touch a piano. You are just to look at it, and that's all. You get it committed to memory. Think about your fingering. Think about harmony. Think about phrase. And then finally when they play it for him, they have to do it by memory.
Yeah.
So it's quite taxing. But that is Friedrich Schuh. That's Friedrich Schuh. Now, which brings me to
one
my...
of those philosopher pianists.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's cool.
Kind of like a...
I don't know him well enough.
Like a Confucius.
I really was impressed with the Prokofiev I heard.
Oh, yeah.
And it was very highly recommended.
Oh, it's very...
I also have Georgi Shandor's Prokofiev.
Uh-huh.
Because he was famous with that. He was Malcolm Bilson's teacher.
Wow.
Bilson studied with Shandor.
Wow, that's
Imagine that.
Yeah.
Well, what else you got here?
All right.
This is exciting.
Okay, well,
You're
you
a good
will like
pianist.
this. This is another pianist. This is Mussorgsky's Pictures and Exhibition. And this is a pianist that we talk about a lot. This is a joint CD. You have the Vienna Philharmonic conducted by Andre Previn.
Oh.
But on the other tracks, it would be the piano solo version by Alfred Brendel.
Oh, wow.
Phillips release.
Oh, it's still in the plastic.
It's still
You got
unwrapped.
this at the library?
I got that at the
So
library.
they had the library and never even bothered to unwrap it?
These are donations.
Oh. Oh, and they didn't want it.
Yeah.
Wow, that would be interesting.
Yeah.
I don't get this. You mean for piano and orchestra?
Well, not piano and orchestra, just the piano solo, and then the other tracks is the orchestra.
Oh, it's a mixture of things.
Yeah.
So he doesn't play necessarily all of them. He plays some of them on solo piano, and then the orchestra plays the Ravel orchestration.
Well,
Is that it?
not
Because I see this is pretty much the
Yeah.
whole composition
yeah,
from beginning to end. But
yeah.
they're doing different things with it.
Well, as I saw it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way down to 16 is the piano solo. 17 tracks 17 to 31 is the orchestra.
Oh.
So I think Ravel may have left out a promenade.
Oh, you mean there's two complete versions?
Yeah,
One is Brendel's solo, and the other is the orchestra.
is the orchestra.
Oh.
Okay. Let me show it to
But
you.
still, Brendel playing the
Mussorgsky.
pictures.
Yes.
What didn't that boy play?
Yeah.
Because he was famous for Schoenberg's and all,
yeah.
too, right?
The Schoenberg Concerto.
Yeah? But he
Yeah.
played the sonata, I think, the first one.
I don't remember that, but I've seen him do. Do you have a recording like this?
I don't have that.
You do now.
No way, dude.
It's yours.
You have this already?
No, but I do. I have it on cassette tape, but you can have this one.
Oh.
The cassette tape has him doing that and the Petrushka and the Islamini.
Wow. Brendel?
Brendel!
Holy smokes.
But I knew he had, it was pretty, he went pretty wild
Well, I
with the
can
Russians.
make a copy of it for you on
Okay, sure. Thank you.
CD if you want it. CD.
Sure, absolutely, sure.
Oh, we're not supposed to say that. But come on, this is an old recording.
So we could edit that out.
Thank you.
You're very
I
welcome.
appreciate that.
Sure thing.
Thank you.
Yours.
Wow. He gives me these little presents every once in a
Well,
while.
I know that we're of like mind in many ways. Yeah. All right. Now for the segment of our show today.
About movies.
Yes, PSI at the movies.
We're going to have a little special piece of music that I can play.
Yeah.
A little section. I don't know how to listen to it.
Okay.
Just a little piece.
Okay.
One thing that we're different about, we decided, because we did a show 2 shows ago,
Okay.
and the first 10 minutes or so was a discussion about an Ohio eatery,
Oh.
and we did not speak favorably of it. No, we didn't.
No, we did. I think you edited that part out. Too.
I totally lopped it all out eventually. And Elmer wrote me and he said, I'm going to fry for this.
Yes, I'm going to fry for it.
Well, let's put it this way. We don't have any lawyers. We'll just put it out there so it comes to us. We can't afford them, which means you would just have to take our blood.
Yeah.
But we're also actually, we've talked about this, we want to try to basically lift things out.
Yes, exactly.
You know, and even like these pianists that we talked about. Now, these guys in the present day and age, Frederick Chu,
Pretty sure.
Johnny Thibaudet, Brendel's still alive. He's not playing anymore, but those are guys up on top of the iceberg, really. But a lot of people might not know about it. But sometimes you still got to show people the different, like the other side of the moon. The Chinese are going to show us now. It's in the robotic thing to look at the other side of the moon. We never get to see. Supposedly that's where the alien bases are and everything. But we try to lift things up. That's what I like to do with my energy in my life, and to share what I'm so excited about. And it's like something I said was at Elmer recently. My master's teacher, Howard Karp, who was such a noble and wonderful person, very significant pianist, significant musician. He was a colleague of Ben Cliburn's at Juilliard. They both studied with Rosina. And then Theodore Levin, the other guy I mentioned for a while, he and Howard both grew up in the same city, both Chicago pianists. Howard came from a very wealthy Jewish family that had made their money in the baking business. His father provided a lot of flour for a lot of bakeries all around the world. Wow. But Howard was amazing. One thing about him that I always admired is I never heard the man say a bad word about anybody. He had a big Russian nose, big Russian Jewish nose, and it's kind of almost like Oriental type of eyes. He's a very handsome, strange looking Russian Jewish guy.
Oh, yeah, the hands.
And oh my God. Yeah, the
I remember
thumbs
the
came out
hands.
just like crazy.
I remember that hands.
He had a narrow palm. He admired my palm. He said, "You have such a wide palm." I said, "Yeah, but my thumb is like 1/3 the length." He said, "Well, I can make up for some things, but anyway." I never heard him say a bad word about anybody, but sometimes, if you'd ask him, the most he would do, which is kind of, the nose would go a little up in the air with lips like this and just kind of, that was Howard's disapproval. It was enough.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't have to go on about how awful it was. He was disappointed with a couple students. He confided in me things sometimes. People do that.
Yeah.
And he didn't go into the details of this or that, but I knew that there was a very talented Hispanic fellow in the master's program who was there. The undergrad. And Howard wanted to send him somewhere. I don't know what Juilliard. But the kid was kind of willful and a little stubborn in some ways. I just remember that. I mean, you can put all kinds of screwing, whatever to it. But anyway, we're in general going to try to show you things that we're happy and excited about. Right, in general.
Absolutely excited about, and
because if it's, and that's not to say that something we don't mention we don't like. We may just not have gotten to it, or we don't know about it.
Right.
That's for you guys to bring to our attention.
Which reminds me, if you like the content of our show, please give us a thumbs up, punch that notification bell, subscribe, tell your friends, family, and colleagues.
Did you know, I think we're up to 48 followers?
We are.
On YouTube, I think.
We are.
That's the first number, right? It's the followers?
Yeah.
Not comments.
Right.
Not all comments, but apparently there's 48 people that have seen some parts of our videos.
Holy crap.
And they have to... They have to register that they're following it, or
they have to subscribe.
To be up there. Yeah.
Holy moly!
48, and pretty much we just got this stuff going up beginning of this year.
Here,
Right?
yeah, basically.
The first 2 or 3 shows are from sometime last year.
Yeah.
But most
Not
of them
bad.
are from just since January.
Wow. What do you? Keep it going,
Think of that,
guys.
dude.
Keep it going.
By next year, if we can triple that or quadruple that, that'd be wonderful.
Way. Yeah. Anyways, back to the movies. This is a movie that I've spoken about before, but never could find it.
Wrapped in plastic, too.
Yes, wrapped in plastic. It's a VHS.
Oh!
Never made it- Yes.
I'm never going to see it because he doesn't invite me over to see it.
Well, I don't. All right. Anyways, we talked about this movie, and I was starting to wonder if I'd ever find a copy, but I found this at the book sale.
Cool.
The last copy, possibly the only copy left. This is Spring Symphony.
Oh.
Spring Symphony, the movie about Robert Schumann.
Who is that? Kadinsky?
This is Natasha Kinski.
Kinski.
She plays Clara Schumann in this movie. Here, let me show you.
Clara never looked that good.
Oh. Well, to some
Natasha
people.
Kinski?
Yes, Natasha Kinski. Hold on.
She was a new by a little waif, but she was great.
Yeah, she was. Oh, she was.
I meant McClara.
Yeah. Oh,
God,
gosh. Look at
That's
those eyes.
Kinski, yeah.
Yeah. Here, I know you want to look at this first.
Whatever happened to her? Oh, is that Robert?
Yeah, it's Robert Schumann.
No way.
Yes, that guy.
You think it ever looked that good?
I don't know, but he was actually a co-star in Das Boot.
Herbert Grönemeyer.
Yeah.
Spring Symphony.
Spring Symphony.
It's in English?
Yes, it's English dubbed.
Ah.
It's an English dubbed. I don't know.
It's
I think
originally
originally German.
Yeah.
But I've never been able to locate a
Kinski.
German copy.
Was she German?
Kinski?
Natasha.
I think she's Polish with a name like Kinski.
But spoke German.
She did a few
Well, I know
American
that,
movies.
yeah, Kinski.
She did a 70s
Natasha.
a 70s horror movie called Cat People, a remake.
Uh-huh.
And
I
since
know
then,
Cat People.
you know Cat People?
Yeah, from a long time ago.
It starred her and Malcolm McDowell.
Yes.
Yeah.
I saw it.
You saw it?
Yeah.
Interesting movie.
Spooky movie.
Yeah. But anyways, I thought you'd be interested in the roster
Okay.
of musicians they have in this
Ooh.
movie. This is, folks, this is the way to do it. Let me tell you who's in this. I'll start off with the pianists first, okay? I mentioned before Ivo Pogarelish, right?
Wow.
Was in this. His playing is recorded in this movie.
She did the toccata.
He probably does. I don't know. He was a young man, but one of our heroes is in this movie as well. Wilhelm Kempff.
Whoa!
He playing is in the
Beautiful
soundtrack
Schumann
of this
play.
movie. Yes,
Beautiful
Wilhelm
Schumann.
Kempff. So
But he was, when was this movie made?
this movie was made in. It says copyright 86.
Yeah, Kempff was dead. He died in the late 60s, didn't he? Or something
I'm
like
not
that?
sure.
I can look it up.
Yeah,
I
you can
have my
look it up.
little thing here. But guys, his Beethoven stuff is amazing.
Oh,
Schubert
absolutely.
stuff. But he was all really well revered for his Schumann playing.
Oh, I'm sure.
And
he
there's
was.
these box sets that are available that aren't that much.
Yeah.
Music making is very satisfying.
Oh, I'm sure it is. So I'll go on with the list here. Have you heard of a pianist named Babette Hierholzer? I know, that's how I reacted to it. And apparently she records with the, I don't know how you say this, genuine, it looks like genuine, but there's no E at the end. The Genuine Recording Label. And what's on YouTube
Whoa.
is her performing the Bach transcriptions of different concertos by other composers.
I was
What?
wrong.
What?
Grobu, he corrected me in the last film. I was
He
totally
did?
wrong about Friedman's dates.
Oh,
He
you
died in 48 or something.
yeah.
I said he was around in the 60s. Totally wrong about Kempff. Did you know this?
What?
He was born in 1895,
1895.
so he was about 8 years younger than Rubinstein.
Yeah.
He didn't die until 91.
He died in 91.
He was 95, 96 years old when he died.
Wow.
I did not know that. I did not know that he was around that long.
Wow.
He could have recorded this.
He could have recorded this. Amazing, huh?
Hmm.
Anyways, like I said, Babette Hierholzer has a whole album of the Bach transcriptions of the Marcello and Vivaldi and company, basically.
Mhm.
It's all recorded on piano by her.
Ooh.
Now, you want to hear the rest of the roster here. We have Gidon Kramer on violin. We have Wolfgang Sawallisch, the conductor. We have Dietrich Fischer-Dieskau, the singer. And we have another conductor, Manfred Rosenberg. Now, I looked up Manfred Rosenberg and never heard of him. But he's mostly involved with Hollywood movie soundtracks now. So he conducts orchestras for those. Now, there is a men's chorus in the movie. And let me know if you've heard of these guys. This is the Berliner Hymnentafel.
What in Tafel?
Hymnentafel or Hymnentafel?
Oh, Hymnentafel. Yeah. Don't know.
Don't know. Well, they're still
Small group,
together.
presumably. Tafel usually means a very small ensemble.
Okay, well, apparently they're still singing. So, but that's the roster. Let me show you again, Spring Symphony. If you can find a copy, don't hesitate to pick it up. It's a good movie. Now, my only problem with this movie was the ending. The ending, I wish they could have expanded the ending a little bit more, but instead, they come to a point where she and Robert Schumann get in this little tiff at the dinner table, and then the rest of the movie, they just narrate their, the rest of their lives, and Schumann dies, and that's it. So, but otherwise, a very good cast. It's very well acted.
Natasha Kinski is a great actress.
Oh, she's
Yes,
wonderful.
look good. She's a great actress.
Oh yeah, she's serious about her
I don't know
craft.
about this other guy, but
Well, like I said, he was in Das Boot.
he gets to pretend to make love to Natasha Kinski. I'd do it for free. But he got paid too.
There you go, paid. But here,
Uh,
you might. I don't know if you want to keep looking at it, but that's her.
Can I say a couple of things?
Sure.
About
Wilhelm Kempff?
Wilhelm Kempff. Yeah.
Okay, sure.
He's a shared passion between me and Elmer.
Oh yeah.
He was very kind. He and his wife bought for me the earliest electronic Beethoven recordings that Marston Records put out, and gave me that as a present. It was really kind. And they're really amazing performances. But I discovered 3 things here. Did you know? Noted pianists who were students of Kempff. Idel Barrett.
No way.
Jörg Damos.
Jörg Damos?
Michele Mitsuko Uchida.
No way.
Maria Wall Perez.
No.
And then a couple other guys I don't know.
Holy moly.
And my teacher, Howard Karp, studied with Kempff as well.
Wow.
I did not know these things about it, but I had no idea that he lived that long.
1991.
I figured he kind of drifted away eventually, but
Yeah.
there's an interesting, gotta read this. When pianist Arthur Schnabel undertook his pioneering complete recording of the Beethoven sonatas in the 1930s, you have to realize he was at least in his 60s at that point, if not 70. He told EMI that if he was unable to complete the cycle, they should have Kempff complete the remainder. This is 1930s.
This is who?
Arthur Schnabel.
He said that?
He said when he was working on his famous Beethoven sonata collection, if I die and I'm unable to finish this, you go get Kempff and have him finish it for you. This is Schnabel's recommendation.
Gosh.
I mean, that's a hell of a recommendation.
Oh my
Back in the 1930s. Later, when Kempff was in Finland, the composer Jean Sibelius asked him to play the slow movement of Beethoven's 29th sonata, the Hammerklavier. After Kempff finished playing, Sibelius told him, "You did not play that as a pianist, but rather as a human being." It's something, and there's something else in here that's really good. Alfred Brendel wrote that Kempff played on impulse, depending on whether the right breeze was with an Aeolian harp was blowing. You then would take something home you never heard anywhere else. Alfred Brendel regards Kempff as the most rhythmical of his colleagues. Brendel helped choose the selections for the Philips label's great pianists of the 20th century. I did not know that.
Brendel did?
Brendel was behind that. And in the issue of Kempff recordings, and he wrote in the notes that Kempff, quote unquote, achieves things that are beyond him. In his unsurpassable recording of Liszt's first legend, St. Francis Pucci to the words. What I just kind of read to you, did not play that as a pianist, but as a human being. As a performer, Kempff stressed lyricism and spontaneity, particularly effective in intimate pieces or passages. And I wouldn't say that he comes across as an old-fashioned pianist, like Brockman would have said about Friedman.
Exactly. Yeah.
But the alive and almost like he's playing it as an improvisation or as his own piece in the moment. He brings that into his recordings, and my God, he played that music over and over again. But when you hear it in recording, studio recording, and it has this amazing freshness and always this lovely sound. You know, I remember reading about him. He studied with Heinrich Barth, who was Rubinstein's teacher. He was, I think, 8 years junior to Rubinstein. They knew each other back then. Vaguely. I mean, Rubinstein was already kind of out and about doing things. But there was a period of time when Kempff's father was Kapellmeister in a church. And he left Barth for a year or two, something like that. It was between that, not a long period, but a short period of time. Before he finished his studies, actually, like take a diploma or something with him, and he disappeared.
Wow.
He just quit coming to lessons and wasn't missing and everything. And Bart's like, where the hell is this kid? Well, he was in the big city of Berlin, and he had taken a job playing organ at the church.
Wow.
He found in a Lutheran church, he just found it very spiritual, and just the sound and everything like that. And then he showed up to do his graduation, recital before the piano faculty, and he played everything by memory and everything so well that they were just, wow,
astonished.
And Barth said that there was something new and open and lovely in the playing that hadn't been there before. And we heard about, he was playing organ during that whole time at the church.
Yeah.
That something spiritual must have breathed into it, It's something that I didn't know him for the longest time, because I think I only got to know, I probably read about it in Harold Schoenberg's book, and he mentions everybody. But it was only after I was working with Howard, and I worshipped Howard. Everything about Howard I wanted to know. And so I knew that he said Rosina, but then he did the Fulbright work in Switzerland or Italy. Northern Italy up there around Switzerland, like Como, Positano or something like that. I don't know. But he studied with Kempff in these master classes. So I was this Kempff guy, and I started to get a few recordings. And they were very inexpensive and accessible, because he's never was a major artist over here. And he did come over and play.
Oh, yeah.
But he just never looked for it. It wasn't his thing. And people, you're missing out.
Yeah.
It's some of the, oh my God, when he plays some of the Schubert, it really is like going to church. You just feel there's a beauty and a reverence for this boy's music. He finds the spirit of it. And then when he plays Beethoven again, there's something probably spiritual in
absolutely.
music making. I mean, in some of the pieces, where Beethoven sometimes, in some of the movements, Beethoven was a deist, but he was not a church boy by any means. The Missa Solemnis that he wrote has far less to do with God than it does with mankind's relationship with the divine. It's not about praising God as much as it's celebrating man as a creation of God, and participating in that.
Yeah.
But sometimes when he writes, especially sometimes earlier on in his slow movements in the piano sonatas, they have an almost like Christian hymn-like reverence.
There is. Yeah,
certain
absolutely
thing there. And when Kempff plays it, you feel, and I don't mean to press this on it, because look, I'm Buddhist, Taoist, I play for Lutheran Church, and I love the people there, and I enjoy it. I feel the presence of the Holy Spirit of God, doing stuff. You get that. Sitting down and listen. And again, definitely, I don't do this too often. I don't listen to music passively. If I put it on, I listen. But I'd never put Kempff on as background music.
Oh, you don't do that.
No. You can't. I mean, if you're sensitive at all, you couldn't help but just sit down and start listening attentively.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's something there. And it's not like, we mentioned Pogorelich.
Yeah.
I don't know what that boy has going for him sometimes. I mean, he could play, what was it, the Ravel?
Gaspard de la Nuit.
Oh, yeah, or the Toccata.
Toccata, yeah.
I mean, that boy could pounce on a rattler.
Oh.
And, a Burmese python and wrestle it to the death.
Check out the Islame that guy plays.
It's incredible.
Wow.
Really, Kempff is never about attack.
No, he's not.
Not at all.
No.
It's, I don't know. It's almost,
Sibelius nails
sometimes
it
you
on the dot.
See, you play like if
You played like a...
Sometimes you feel like you're listening in on the man's inner prayer.
Yeah.
His own private
moments
of
but it's so
reflection.
pure about it, though. There's something...
And amazingly, when you hear the concerto performances that he did,
number 4.
I don't know if, the 4th Beethoven, I don't know if he worked it out with the conductor, or if he just found somebody, or they picked him because they knew the way he played. The concerto performances sound the same.
Yeah.
They remind me of some of the later, wonderfully warm, completely relaxing and inviting performances of Claudio Rao. Like the Phillips albums that I have. I have on CD2 of the Beethoven, or the Brahms concerto. Spaciousness, and ease and grandeur. There's none of this, I don't know, Khrushchev taking his shoe off and pounding on the table.
Yeah.
Pay attention to me here,
Yeah.
Never with Kempff. It's noble, but it's also not nose up in the air noble. Like, we're better than you because we have this sensitivity, we can play this way. No, there's something humble, but
absolutely.
Remarkably reverent.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say that I know so much about a huge variety of repertoire, but there's Beethoven and there's Schubert and there's Schumann, especially, and some of the concerti. And then I have, thanks to Elmer, he made a nice copy of it for me, of Kempff's Bach transcriptions.
Yeah.
A number of them.
Oh, yeah.
Really quite nice.
Oh, they're beautiful.
Somewhat different from Busoni sometimes.
Oh yeah, it's very good.
Busoni has a certain dramatic flair, a little bit, and again,
but you don't experience that.
Kempff's are reverential.
Yeah.
Settings. I mean, even the fast stuff and everything.
Oh yeah.
I remember a guy played organ in the church, and his dad was Capellman, so he was a music minister. So that was cool.
Yeah.
I appreciate getting to look him up. I looked into that. That was neat. I'm gonna keep this thing with me for a minute.
That's a good idea.
Then Grover's not gonna have to correct me all the time.
Alexander Nevsky.
Oh, the original movie.
The original movie.
Oh, this is an amazing piece. Prokofiev wrote the music for the film.
Yes, he did.
And
This
it's
is
magnificent.
directed by Alfred Eisenstein.
Yeah, one of the
And
great films.
there is no CG in this film, folks. No CG. This is quite possibly one of the largest casts ever put together
Have you looked
for
at
a
it?
movie. I've watched this movie
I'd like
like
to see
3
it,
times.
but it's available on YouTube too.
I don't know if it is or not.
But I'd like to watch it sometime.
Okay.
But I got things I got to watch first, though. I don't
Yeah.
do that. People, the music is extraordinary. And look, we talked about this in the show a while back.
Yeah.
This history and this story is why Russia is in the Ukraine. Kiev was the ancient Russian capital of the people, the Rus. You know, in 900, there was a great 900-ish years.
Yep.
There was a great battle between Alexander Nevsky and
Whoever those other guys.
the Mongols. All right, the race of people that eventually came from Mongolia and Siberia, who eventually became the Ottomans, who took over Turkey eventually, and all that kind of stuff. But their blood goes back to the Mongolians, and then people that came out of the Siberian forest and traveled with them. And the Russians beat them. And that was rare at that time because the Mongols were undefeatable. They ran the world all the way from Mongolia, northern China, down into Iran, through parts of the northern Middle East, Persia, what you call it now. And the Mongolians left their influence on, for example, Hungarian. Hungarian language influences are due to the Mongols. Even the Basque language and the Basque shepherds trace certain traditions of language things to the Mongol language. And the Russians think that Kiev is the heart and the soul of the birth of the Russian nation. And, Moscow's a later on, it's been there for centuries.
Yeah.
But they went up north, and captured everything up there and stuff, and eventually monstrous empire. But it's an amazing story.
It
In
is
the
an
movie,
amazing story.
I've seen, years ago, I saw it at Wittenberg.
You did?
Yeah, somebody showed it, and they played at the same time. It was a silent film, isn't it?
Yeah. No. Well,
Or
no.
they-
It's a sound. It's
So the soundtrack comes with it.
the soundtrack. There's voice. It's
Oh, they
a
talk.
sound film. They talk. It's not a sound picture.
Okay, so I don't remember that correctly, but
But
the music's amazing. I have a recording of Alexander Nevsky, the score.
yeah. Now, in case you don't know, this is an older a copy of the older version.
Yeah.
Now, years later, in the 90s,
Oh, they filmed or didn't film.
they the soundtrack, the music, was
Oh,
actually redubbed by Gergiev and the St. Petersburg
Valery
Symphony.
Gergiev, who's Putin's buddy, so he's kind of been blacklisted
So-
in the West lately.
Yeah. So, anyways, he's been. They re-recorded the actual score later on.
But I think, because he was quite good with the Russian repertoire, the recording or the one that I have is with Andrei Previn?
I don't know. Do you?
I think so. One of my first CDs, two first CDs I bought was Horowitz, the studio recordings or something. This is like 1986, 87,
Yeah.
88. And the Rachmaninoff Second Symphony with London Symphony or Philharmonic, I forget which, and Andrei Previn. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Previn had a way with the Russian repertoire. But cool. It's good shape.
I think it's in good shape. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. So, there it is.
Good for you.
But I had to pick it up.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
So what do you pay per piece for these things?
I
$2?
think, yeah, I think it was like $2,
Cool.
something like that.
Did you show it to them?
I did.
This is something, this should be on some kind of a bucket list, people.
Yeah.
Because of Eisenstein and because of Prokofiev.
Yeah.
And it's, Eisenstein was one of the great filmmakers.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if you've ever seen the image of the baby carriage and the Mongol, and the baby carriage went bunka down the stairs, that was in the Battleship Potemkin. All right, that's when the sailors refused to fight for the Tsar, and there was a big Russian communist moment. and all hell broke loose, and there's fire going on and everything. Mom loses the baby carriage, and it goes bouncing down the stairs with the kid in it. Oh gosh, that's a famous moment in film. That's Eisenstein. That's another one of his movies. You bought it!
Yes, I bought it.
I've been having it on my wish list forever, waiting for the price to come.
Here you go.
You got it for $2.
I did get it for $2.
Oh, man.
You can't get it cheaper than that. That's what I got it. Kate Blanchett, Tar. Now we saw this movie together. It was
He took
interesting.
me out to see it. It was really
Yeah, we went out to see it. It was interesting. He and I sat together, and just a few seats away, there were 3 other women there.
That's it. And that was the audience.
Yeah, that was the
Just
audience.
the
Five of us.
Right, yeah.
And so we didn't say anything to the women till, well, I did. I went to them a little later after the movie was over, and I asked them what they thought of the movie. And the 3 of them agreed that they hated it.
They hated the movie?
They hated the movie.
They hated everything about it?
They just didn't get it, is what they said.
I love this movie.
I love this movie, too. I thought
it was good. You know, she has this thing going on with the cellist girl.
Yeah.
And
Now,
all that kind of stuff.
I do have a cellist friend who went with their buddies. There was 4 cellists buddies that went together to watch the movie. Okay, and I asked them what they thought of the movie, and they said they found the movie very, very unsettling.
Oh, yeah.
Simply because all the goings on in the movie, they're very familiar with.
Yeah, it happens in the
In
real
the
world.
orchestra, it happened. Yeah, according to them, they said it's real. That's what happens in orchestras, everywhere. She says.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. I just saw a article in the news this morning, my news feed. I get a lot of classical music, various things. But 4 women conductors at the Met Opera this past week.
Really?
Including Marin also. And then there were 3 others. There's a Chinese lady, or Oriental lady.
Yeah.
And then there's 2 other ladies that were there. 4 females directing at the Met in 1 week last week.
Wow.
And when you see this story, she's a very powerful woman. She's the director of the Berlin Philharmonic.
She was coached by Marin also.
Yeah.
Coached by Marin.
She's just a very persuasive job, I think.
Oh, she does a very.
She looks good when she's done. It strikes me as, because come on, there's some other ones. Like, what didn't work for me?
What?
What was that? Mozart in the Jungle or something. It was a story about the South American guy who comes and becomes a director in New York of the symphony, and it was very popular for a while.
Is it about Godowsky or something?
Well, I think it's kind of supposed to be like him or something.
Okay.
What was it called? Mozart in the Jungle or something like that, people? I have to look it up and put it up correctly. Be correct. I watched a bunch of it, but the problem I had with it was 2 things.
Yeah. The
guy's private and emotional life is always over the place, and he seems to be high from that coffee type mate or whatever they drink all the time. And the actual physical conducting and stuff, well, it just wasn't persuasive. It's very hard for me in some cases. I remember times when I've seen films, I'm embarrassed.
Yeah.
I get embarrassed when I see how poorly people are representing what we do.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, you know.
Yeah, but
thank you, because it doesn't really speak respectfully and truthfully about our profession.
But the problem is, how much of the truth do you really want to let on?
Well, why not? I mean, this Tar thing, I think why it was such a great film is there's a lot of dark underbelly stuff.
Yeah, there's dark underbelly, but this is also fictional, man.
No, I think it's...
Oh, come on!
No, I think it's totally based on potential reality.
Well, basically, potentiality,
in a way,
reality is not the same.
What's interesting is that the only thing I think that it could be like, people are like, oh, it's just fantasy. Well, because it's about a woman. But if this was a story about a man conductor, everybody said, now, who are they trying to who's this about? Who are they trying to tell us about here? Well, there are women that have been around for a while now, and it's amazing. I mean, what, in less than 10 years? Women conductors is like, they're like everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Absolutely.
like, boom, it's like mushrooms.
Yeah.
They're sprouting all over the place, and I don't mean that in a sexist way. Good for them.
Yeah.
Why shouldn't they be able to do it?
Yeah, absolutely.
What I think I have an issue with, and maybe some of them are quite right. Michael Tilson Thomas was quite right early on. But we talked a while back about, the German tradition of conductors that come in as pianists, work at the opera house, get a chance to do a Saturday gig once in a while. Then if they show up, like they've got some skills for it, the opera house may give them some conducting to do. But they cut their conducting chops in with the voice in conducting opera. This was the old way. And then, if you've made it good enough, maybe a symphony orchestra should take a look at you when you're 40, and thereafter.
Yeah.
Because then you get this incredible ear for the singing and the sound from all the instruments and stuff. And the musicians expected that. But I remember people saying, and Arthur Stoneman said, nobody should be allowed to play Schubert until they're at least in their 40s.
Wow.
How can you possibly understand Schubert at a younger age?
Yeah.
The kind of human poignancy that's there is something takes time to experience, Well, I think that this thing is such a great film because
it's a wonderful
there's a tremendous amount of truth in it, like your cellist friend said. And I know that kind of stuff goes on. Come on, you're playing around with chakra energy, right?
Yeah.
Second chakra is sex energy.
Right.
It comes from the kidney area. And then you have the, 1, 2, 3, so 4 here?
Yeah.
5, 6, 7, So you're playing 2, 4, and 6. 2 is the kidney energy, sexual, recreative energy, or creative energy, tied to the heart, which is the 4th chakra, which is, about, it's not so much heart from like a sex sort of thing, it's more about emotion and more adult way of relating to the world, but in a compassionate way. This is a third eye. This is spiritual enlightenment. So the idea is really to unite the 2 and the 4 and bring them up into the 6th chakra to have the potential to demonstrate a have for yourself and to perhaps create a transfigurative moment for people. And what happens is you got a lot of second chakra energy flying around.
Yeah.
When I used to work in the opera a lot more when I was younger, I didn't like it because generally I've been a guy who's like true to my lover.
Yeah.
The person I'm with, it's who I'm with. I like that aspect of the intimacy and stuff. There's a certain kind of person that is more, not necessarily the intimacy, but the moment, the excitement, the freshness, the new fruit on the block. And going into another opera production, you'd start to see people pairing off or threeing off or group sexing off, depending. And I mean, it's everybody, the homosexuals, and the straight people, which singers are going to end up tagging each other, and then who the conductor's going to get, and then if the conductor's gay, and then all the stage boys and everything, big parties and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of wild sexual energy that's built and happens around a massive opera production. A lot of stuff. And I'm not saying it's wrong because I don't believe God cares. There are more important things. Besides, Jesus said, I forgive you on the cross to the guy. Right? But I think that there's a lot of truth in it. And of course, what happens to her at the end, she gets blacklisted and has to go conduct in China or something.
Yeah. See, that part I wasn't too sure about because all the,
it's also kind of a.
Was that like a
look?
lower?
I think it's kind of both a slight and some truth. that I think what it's pointing at is that the work that she ends up doing, where she was working with extraordinarily sensitive and amazing musicians in Berlin with this old culture and this very European, like you can't live or breathe without music kind of feeling, to a place where it has a more commercial and perhaps superficially understood meaning, and she's separated from all that now at the end of the film. But let's put it this way, I'm not going to name any names.
Okay.
But I've worked in that world. I learned a long time way back, there's money to be made working with singers. Because they need people to listen to them, and prepare them and all that kind of stuff. So, and I enjoyed it, I actually enjoyed it. But I did a lot of opera work for a period of my life. I'm doing it again. I have been doing it more recently here. But especially in the older days, in both around places in the States and in Europe. Yeah, I know some specific people. I know some stories. Oh boy.
We'll have a beer over it sometime.
Infamous stuff. So I thought Tar was remarkable because I think it was telling a true story about the profession, and I appreciated that.
Yeah.
It's weird because there is that supreme height of music making, but then also really grimy, sweaty, nasty. The way that secretary turns on her and everything. It's all there, people. It's all there. That's really what it can be like. I mean, isn't everything that has anything to do with humans always like
that? Yeah. Can we get to the final item?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's all right. You may have this CD already. I'm not sure. This is a Leopold Godowsky recording played by Marc Andre Hamlin. It's Strauss Waltzes.
I do have this one.
You do have this one.
Yeah, you got this one for $2 though?
I did.
I paid more than that for mine.
Well, this one's like completely...
These are wonderful.
Yeah.
These are wonderful, wonderful performances.
Well,
I have no
concerning Leopold Godowsky.
But I have that one. Is it 2 or 3 CDs?
What is it?
He plays all the Godowsky etudes.
Oh, the Chopin etudes? Yeah.
51 of them.
Yeah,
whatever it is.
something like that. Yeah, that's amazing too.
Those are... This is like what Rubinstein was talking about.
Having
it's
5
just,
lifetimes to have to...
or I saw Ballet play it on TV,
Yeah, I did.
Where he plays some of these Chopin etudes.
Yeah.
The left-handed ones.
Yeah.
2 different ones at the same time, in like between 5 fingers.
Yeah. He did the badinage on that one too.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only other pianist I've heard do this is Ian Hobson.
Mm-hmm.
There's an Ian Hobson recording.
Some of the most profoundly challenging piano music to play are the Godowsky original things, but especially the transcriptions.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And
they're fun.
What's incredible is that the mind that's working.
Oh yeah.
I mean, how do you think this etude would fit with this one? Or like you were talking about Hamlin when he did the
triple etude.
For 3 of them in one composition, and they all work. And then, I mean, the challenge is you need to be able to hear all of it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's a remarkable thing. It starts to sound like there's at least 2, or in that case, probably 3 pianists playing together at the same time, but there's only 10 fingers making it happen.
Exactly. That's remarkable.
And it was actually by learning to play some stuff like that. I'm not sure when it began for me, really. I know that when I played the
Ballet Doberman?
Ballet Doberman.
Yeah.
I remember when I learned that the first time. I heard that very orchestrally, very much.
Oh yes, very much like that.
All that, and I was conceiving of it very orchestrally. And the nice thing is that that was some early comments I had from people.
Yeah.
It didn't sound like you're playing the piano; it sounded like an orchestra.
Orchestra, absolutely. You had to think that.
But I was, but some of the music, like with the list, all right, when you got that,
Yeah.
You've got to play this with your left hand like that.
Yeah.
And it started to open me up. Probably that was senior year of the graduate or undergrad, to learning to voice more
Yeah.
in the hand. Miss Fontel, that summer I went to her.
Yeah.
She was really big on that. She was saying, you're not just, she said, this isn't just a big paw. She
Yeah.
said, there are voices here. And she talked to me about being both a mouth and an eye here,
Yeah.
and the end of the finger. And you have this kind of connection to the key.
Yeah.
She had old Steinways with real ivory keys on them. There is a feeling. Now, with the newer ones, they have an ivory-like thing.
Yeah.
Plastic ones, you don't get the same sensation.
Yeah.
Ones a while back, they're using plastic keys. But it was kind of weird because when you start to sweat, the ivory doesn't get slippery.
No.
It gets a little sticky.
Yeah.
That your
I know what you mean.
It's a little glued to the key top a little bit.
Yeah, Rubenstein mentioned something about that. He says he always has a can of hairspray with him. He sprays the keys before he goes out to play because it adds a certain stickiness to
the
it.
key.
So that way it doesn't slip.
That's interesting.
So,
I hope we didn't create a lot of buildup on the keys.
you never know.
But
because he hated it when the stagehand came out and cleaned the keys.
Oh, the worst
because he says he hated
the worst
that.
part is when stupid people lemon polish the keys. Not just the body of the piano, but they actually put the stuff on the keys. And my dad was always really fussy about that because he said, my God, he said that stuff can leak down inside the bed of the key and can get in the pads and everything like that. He said they'd have no idea. And he would tell his clients, he said, don't spray the piano with
Fingernail polish.
with
Furniture
polish and close the lid. If you're doing it, please close the lid over the keyboard before you spray. Because he said, my God, he said, the work that he said, you won't pay me? No, okay, I don't want to pay me. But he said the work, sometimes the craft, it gets down in there.
Yeah.
And that you have to clean out and everything. So
Which is why I brought this.
I saw that. He brought it again. He's putting his blood up for this stuff, and he's not getting paid for it.
Okay, take a look. This is what we use
for you?
Piano polish. I'm not getting paid. It's not on my salary. So anyways, here it
This is
is.
at least the third time.
It's Corey piano polish. All right. They also have a line of products for your piano keys as well. This is for the body of the piano, the lid, and everything else. All aboard.
But Miss Fontel's the one that started to really work with the uniqueness of the fingers, his voices. One of the pieces I played for her, because I'd already played it for Howard, and I think I did it. Was it on my junior or senior recital when I played the Chopin Fantasy Polonaise? Polonaise Fantasy.
Yeah, I remember that.
I worked on that with Miss Fontel.
Whoa.
And that's an interesting piece because there's a lot of old school inner voice kind of stuff.
Yeah, there sure is.
I started to do that. But then, as the years went by, I played some Godowsky transcriptions.
Yeah, I remember.
It's very, Rubenstein talks about playing the piano at some point in the book, and he says it in interviews too. He said, the English words, he said there's sensuous and sensual.
Yeah.
He said, I'm not talking about sensual, that's sex.
Yeah.
I'm talking about sensuous, he said.
Exactly.
There is something about playing the piano which gives me a great deal of satisfaction by just the way that it feels. My fingers in my hands.
Yeah.
And then he talked about, some things feel even more pleasing than others. Like almost all pianists agree that E flat is their favorite key to play in. There's something very satisfying about the position of everything like that. But playing Godowsky and hearing it, and then you're creating that yourself.
Yeah.
Bring out these lovely sounds of voices and stuff. And then if you're lucky, you know it well enough, you can look out there for a moment and you see some people in the front row with smiles on their faces because they're delighted by the
Yeah.
extraordinariness of it.
Oh,
you know?
absolutely.
And then you're got a smile on your face because you're thinking,
I'm like,
shit, that's me playing this.
Yeah, exactly.
That's me doing that.
Exactly.
It's really quite satisfying. You know, you put in the practice time to get it going, but once it works out, and the cool thing, Godowsky was a pianist. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
he played just as well or better than anybody could.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But he knew that keyboard and everything tangible and palpable about it.
Yeah.
So it's really nice to play music that's written by somebody who really, really, really could play the piano well.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing that he asks you to do. Like, for example, it's not Rachmaninoff. I haven't met any, like, ridiculously wild stretches in Godowsky.
No, you don't.
You know, where you just, like, got to put down tents all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Rachmaninoff, I'm sure, had a 12, because Rubinstein
Did. Oh, yeah.
And Rachmaninoff had big monkey hands.
Oh, yeah. His uncle even bigger than that. Even bigger than that, his uncle.
Good God.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's just really pleasing to challenge yourself with certain things. For example, this boy right here, he was a pianist, of course,
Schubert.
but he was not a concert pianist, and there's some awkward moments
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
in the writing sometimes, because he's writing as a composer more than he is as
A pianist. Yeah.
pianist. And that's not necessarily a bad thing,
No,
because there's, I mean, come on, there are moments in Beethoven. He's a great pianist.
Uh-huh.
But as he goes on, the concepts go beyond pure pianism. When I played 109, you know, when you got all those, it's almost like Godowsky.
Yeah, it does.
Got the trills going on and ting, ting, ting,
Ding, ding. Yeah.
playing the melodies and stuff. You got 4 to 6 voices in 10
Yeah,
figures.
that's about
or whatever
right.
at the end.
Yeah.
That's a Godowsky moment.
Yeah.
And that actually, yeah, you can do it. I played it. But it's not the same as a Godowsky.
No, it's not.
Because
Because Godowsky, it's polyrhythmic, it's polydynamic, it's polymelodic.
But eventually, when you figure it out,
poly everything.
it's, you know what's cool? Yeah, that's a good thing. It's like solving a trigonometric puzzle or something.
Yeah.
Or even a geometric
Or
puzzle.
Rubik's Cube.
That there is this, that's it. Ultimately, the physicalness, though, the physical satisfaction fits well with the mental and the emotional. It's like, I loved math with certain teachers.
Yeah.
I was really quite good at it.
Yeah.
And then I had some math friends. One of my, in Madison, or Ellsworth arranged, it was really sweet for me to practice my German with a guy named Wolfgang Basel, who was a retired math professor from, honored math professor from Madison University. And he was living on his own, retired and stuff. Very interesting life story about how he escaped Europe and everything. But we spoke German with each other, and I read for him, and he, you know, did things like that. We talked about stuff. But he talked about math sometimes, and described, because I asked this, what is it like to do? I mean, I know that it's way beyond that arithmetic and stuff like that for you. He said it's really quite a discipline, because, you know, part of it is that you sit quietly and you think, and you see in your mind certain things. And he said the really wonderful thing about it is the whole process is he said, like, peaceful or pacifying. It's a quieting kind of thing, which feels very good. And he said, then of course, if you finally come up with a solution, there's this like moment, like a little comet blows by in the stars. And he said, but the whole feeling is one of, he said something to me, which I've heard from people like that. Like, Einstein talked about God, but he was not a religious practicing Jew. Wolfgang was also Jewish, and not conservative or going to temple or anything. But he said that there is an aspect of higher mathematics which, as you practice it, and if you come up with a solution, you get these moments to peek into the mind of God. You're up there just for occasional moments like that.
Yeah.
And he says, that really makes it all worth it. And I thought about that. That's kind of the way I feel when the Godowsky stuff I played really came together.
Yeah.
And you have to keep your focus, and it's
absolutely.
It's like keeping a whole box of cats in the box.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah.
Cats in the
Trying to
box.
keep up track. Yeah.
But the sensation,
You're having an 8% moment.
elevated kind of feeling, you know, when you're in it. Yeah.
Remember that 8%?
Cool, yeah.
Why we do this?
Exactly.
The 8% moment.
Exactly. Well, thanks. I was pretty chatty today.
Oh yeah, it was very good though. It was very
But
good.
those are cool things you brought in.
Yeah.
I really like those.
So I can't wait to bring some more. Yeah, stay with us, folks. I'm hoping later on we'll be discussing Joseph Levine's book here.
Well, you remind me when we're going to do that so we can both read the book
Yeah.
and prepare. Maybe to talk about more
Well,
specific
when you say the
things.
last Thursday of this month,
It's fine, I think.
because today's what, the 9th, 10th? I think it's
Alexa, what's today's date?
It's 9th.
Today is Thursday, May 9th.
9th. So you're talking 3 weeks from now?
Yeah.
On the 30th?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay, maybe we'll plan for that, guys. We're going to discuss the, what's it called? Pianoforte principles?
Basic principles, pianoforte playing.
Yeah.
This comes with the forward with Rosina Levine, his wife.
I think it would be cool. Now, we don't we are a program all about piano and music and all that, but we don't play music on the show.
Yeah.
Well, one thing, because we tried, and our equipment is not good enough to record the piano. I mean, piano's hard to mic anyway.
Yeah.
And that's not really what we're about, I guess. We've got videos available of us doing stuff.
Yeah.
I do. I have a lot. You got some stuff up or
On Facebook,
Working
somewhere.
on it, okay.
We'll let you know.
And we don't do recordings because I know, having worked in radio, you gotta be careful about that, because if you do, it's like little sound bites are okay, but it's got to be less than 30 seconds or something. And sometimes it's way even less than that.
Yeah, but
Because there are copyright rules, and you can't play the stuff over the transmission, over the airwaves and stuff without
Exactly.
getting in trouble. So we don't do that. But I'm thinking about this book. The reason I mentioned that.
Yeah.
We might want to pull out some actual music examples.
Exactly. What I
To
was
show
gonna
what
say.
he's talking about, because he does that in the book.
Oh yeah, he does this in the book.
Especially when he's talking about paddling and connecting some things in places.
Yeah.
But I also like what he has to say about rhythm.
Oh yeah.
And that's going to be interesting with the whole logic business, because I remember that's one of the earlier times I remember first hearing that word.
We're
I
gadgets.
think it's in that book.
Yeah.
A bigger project at some point, we'd like to look at the Leschetizky method, which was all put together by Malvina Bray.
Yeah.
And look at some of the bigger part of the book is a lot of photographs and a lot of very 19th century scientifically detailed kind of stuff. We could work on that, but I think what's really telling is the latter part, which is smaller, but it's about aspects of interpretation. Those things that are affected. So rhythm and tempo and articulation and paddling, various things like that. When you see that and see what they're saying, you realize those 19th century pianists were playing according to standards
Exactly.
that were the rule of the day in their time. They just didn't remain that way eventually. So that's a cool idea. So maybe start reading that book and getting prepared with some music examples.
Exactly. I mean, there's a lot of stuff in here.
We should maybe talk about
discuss
before we do the show,
Yeah.
so we can
Absolutely.
lay out how much of the show we want to do on it. So.
Absolutely.
And is there anybody born in May that you know we might talk about that this month? There is going to be somebody.
There will be somebody.
Somebody we've heard of that's worth talking about. That's not fair.
Yeah, it's
That's
not
not
fair.
fair.
Yeah, I'll let you
We're
know.
going to be scratching the teeth on the bottom of the iceberg, or is it
No.
iceberg quality stuff?
I'm hoping. Let me just do my research. on it,
Okay.
Okay. It'll be this. Perhaps next week. I don't know. We'll see.
All right.
Let me do my research.
Oh, that's good.
I'll find something.
I like this, they don't have to be born in the month.
Okay.
We just pick somebody we like or something.
All right.
Maybe they die in the month.
Perhaps. Yeah. We'll see.
Or maybe we just want to talk about it.
Maybe we do.
That's one way to keep me kind of in the corral, is if it's a particular topic, and I can always go far afield, but
Yeah.
it sometimes it's easier to, as the horse, out in the field, it's easier to keep me more in the corral if we got a primary topic.
Oh, but running and jumping wild is much
that-
more
you like
interesting.
that?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's fine. It's fine.
So,
I mean, watching a horse in a corral, it's just going to stand it.
there you go.
But on the other hand, he's a bunking bronco. Running wild. You got to chase that sucker. It makes the conversation a little more interesting.
so that what I did today was good.
It's basically good.
Okay.
Yes, very good.
Well,
Okay,
pretty
folks,
good.
give us a thumbs up, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, tell your friends. Let them know how much fun we are. Okay,
So not bad.
yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah, we got a bunch of followers. Keep telling
Yeah,
people
keep
about
coming.
us.
Yeah, absolutely.
And hopefully we're keeping it all interesting. Just remember, we're piano geeks, music geeks, and we're talking about the whole musical iceberg world. Sometimes about the stuff that you see, but remember that picture like I put up a few times?
Yep.
2/3 to 3/4 of that iceberg's underwater.
Yeah.
And we're snorkeling down there and finding what we can. This guy puts on his hat and goes in the front line, faces Sasquatch guys.
Yep.
And
wild natives. And so.
yeah. Okay. Yeah.
This is Mark,
And this is Elmer.
and we are
Marc
Elmer's PSI.
Piano Scene Investigations. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah. We'll see you again. Bye now.